Hey everyone, I'm Megyn Kelly. Welcome to the Megyn Kelly Show. In March, we brought you a 5-part series on the disappearance of baby Lisa Irwin, an 11-month-old who vanished from her crib in Kansas City, Missouri. It's a case that I've been reporting on for years.
All right, let's get moving.
All right.
We gotta go.
The series culminated with a bombshell interview with one of the key possible suspects in the case, John Jersey Tanko.
All we're trying to do is sketch out the story and wondering if you can tell us what your involvement was in the disappearance of baby Lisa.
I don't have any involvement. That's what I'm saying.
The whole thing was fascinating. It left us with more questions than answers. And we had so much feedback from all of you, both questions and comments, thoughts. Loved doing the whole thing. And I loved hearing from all of you once the show was birthed. It was just so great to hear people's reaction, and the questions that you guys were asking were so smart. And people, when we get so many amateur sleuths in the audience who had great observations. And we have not lost hope that this case can be solved. Little baby Lisa was never found. We don't know what happened to her. We don't know if she was killed. We don't know if she was stolen, if she was sold, and if she could still be out there right now. But that's, of course, her parents' hope and our hope too. And our main goal in launching the series was to see if we could spur a renewal of interest by the Kansas City PD or someone else. And we'll have an update on that at the end of the show. But joining me, our team, Phil Houston, former CIA agent, the guy who invented the CIA's deception detection method, still used by law enforcement and intelligence agencies around the country and the world. Bill Stanton, former NYPD, and someone you don't know, whose name is Brian O'Keefe. He is a producer on the series. He worked very closely with my executive producer on the series, Mary Murphy, who is a wonderful, amazing producer, but who is camera shy. And so Brian, very, very up to speed on everything he and Mary did together, and one of the unsung heroes of this whole production. So Brian, thanks for being here. Phil and Bill, great to see you guys too. How's it going?
Good, Megyn. Thank you for having us again.
Awesome. Okay, so first of all, I haven't even really gotten a chance to ask you guys what you thought of the 5-part series and whether it changed your thinking at all, seeing it all strung together. I'll start with you on it, Phil.
It hasn't changed my thinking per se, but it did spawn some thought process in reviewing, what my rationale is for thinking who is responsible for the disappearance of baby Lisa.
Okay, we'll hear more on that throughout this hour. How about you, Bill Stanton?
Well, first, Megyn, let me just tell your audience that is devout and intelligent and worships you, as do I. If not for you, we wouldn't have had this opportunity. When I called you up on the phone all those years ago to the most recent call that started this, when you said, let's do it, hopefully this brings something to the table in furthering the investigation. As for my opinion, if it changed at all, I would say absolutely not. If nothing else, when you walked up on that individual in his backyard, it only galvanized my opinion. And I'm more sure, both personally and professionally, more than ever.
That was such a crazy day. And Brian, he knows all about it. He's the one who really set it up. It's really kind of thanks to Brian that it was able to happen. How about you, Brian? When you saw it all stitched together, you put so many hours into it. Did it change your thinking at all? Or talk to us about what your reaction was to the finished product.
Well, I'm still a little torn, but I've had some distance now. We published a couple months back, and I watched them all yesterday, and I am really beginning to wonder what Megyn has told us, Megyn Wright. And it's made me, coupled with Mr. Tanko's reaction to you and the kinds of careful answers he gave, really makes me wonder, wait a minute, come on, it's the phone call. I mean, that phone call is everything.
Because you were not thinking that Jersey, you didn't really like Jersey for the crime.
You remember, you might recall, when you and Bill came back from the house down the street, we were listening to it. And my first reaction, you saw my face. I remember you looking at me, and I said, I don't know, guys. I don't know. I'm not so sure, you know? And so it's a fascinating mystery.
Mm-hmm. You know, we're going to get into a lot of the viewer questions, but can you just tell us, because the interview of Jersey in his backyard, called Jersey because he's from Jersey, but John Tanko was stunning. And we planned so much for it. We didn't know if we'd get it. That my favorite part of the whole series is when we're doing our prep for that, you know, interview, and the three of us are sitting there talking about, like, what if you get him? What if you don't get him? What can we do? What's our game plan? And the audience loved that too. They felt like they were in on it right there with us. But Brian, you were there. We worked on this series for years, which you can tell from the changing hairstyles of MK throughout the whole thing. But we couldn't find him. We hired how many private investigators? We moved heaven and earth to find this guy, and we were unable to. And for most of the series, we thought it wasn't going to happen. We were thrilled that Megyn Wright agreed to sit with us. We thought that was the best we were going to do. And then maybe you could give the audience a little backstory on how we actually did wind up finding him.
Well, his mom lived in New Jersey. She has since passed, by the way. Several months ago, she passed away. But we had talked to her, Mary and I, through her doorway. She wouldn't come out and talk to us. She was afraid of being photographed, I guess. And she made it clear that he was somewhere in northern New Jersey. And she kind of gave a hint at a couple of towns. But the real humdinger was a private investigator from Kansas City, Mikkel Lund, helped find an obituary of a woman named Lisa Gallo. This woman, at the bottom of the obituary, it mentions her survivors and her, you know, her mother or stepfather or what have you. And at the bottom is and her domestic partner, John Tanko. Now, there are not that many John Tankos in New Jersey. Frankly, in northern New Jersey, there's only one. And we figured out, Mary and I figured out where did this woman live? So we went to the house that she last lived in before she died. And as we continued to do reporting, I met up with a man who lived in that house, and he told me, John did live here. We kicked him out months ago. They kicked him out of that house for lighting fires in the backyard.
So
and I said, well, where? Yes. So he said, yeah, this is what the man said. The man said that he was lighting fires and it was becoming a problem. And he was a little erratic behavior, is what he said. Then, again, in this group of friends or people that lived in that house, somebody gave me a tip that they didn't have the address, but they knew that it was on a cul-de-sac. And at the end of the cul-de-sac, not far from a diner, there'll be a couple of horses. And so I made, of course I made several trips out there. And this one trip, I walked down the street, the cul-de-sac, and a dog starts barking like nuts, crazy at me. And I don't know where this dog is, but I don't like, a barking dog is not going to be, can be a bad thing. Mm-hmm. But it also attracted attention to me, wandering down this street. Well, guess who pops his head out from behind the fence, that big fence that you guys were looking through when we shot? There he was. And I'm thinking, oh my God, it's him. So he says to me, can I help you? And I said, well, because he lives with a woman named Lisa. I hadn't really planned on being confronted by him. I really hadn't. I was just scoping and seeing what cars were in the driveway, etc., and the neighbors and what have you. And I said, well, there's a John and Lisa on this block. I'm trying to find John and Lisa. And he literally looks me in the eye and immediately lies and says, oh, John and Lisa, you got to go end of the block and go all the way down. He's sending me away. He doesn't want me to know where John and Lisa lives, and it's him. Now listen, I've never heard his voice, but it was him because I've seen enough of his mugshots, and he was wearing a little beanie, and I'm like, oh my God. So then I went to the diner, which wasn't that far away, and called our executive producer, and I was shaking because I was like, it was him. He's
After
never
all
been
this
videotaped or even the video.
No, we had
of him
no
in court.
footage of him. That was one of our problems.
It's the back of his...
Thinking about how we were going to produce the episodes talking about him, but not with him. There's no B-roll. All we had was mugshots of him over the years because he had done such a good job of staying off camera. Keep going.
And being incarcerated for something else right after the kidnapping, a burglary, I believe, or absconding, what have you. He was locked away, so, and when he got out, the media was gone, and, and then he made his way back east a couple years later, I guess. But the only video of him is basically the back of his head in a courtroom.
In court. Yeah, it was such a big deal. Couldn't believe it. We really thought, all right, we're just not going to get him. And then thanks to Brian's efforts and the efforts of others we hired prior to that, we eventually got on the trail and found him. And so that was half the battle and really led to the most interesting, I think, piece of the entire show, which was ultimately the confrontation between the two of us with Bill in the backyard. Brian was there back in the van, and just a crazy day. I mean, Bill and I met at that diner right around the corner before we went over there. And without getting too specific, we had a bit of a briefing from law enforcement, Bill, that had us both very worried about what we might be walking into. And we started second guessing like the protocols we had settled on and whether basically you could keep me safe and whether we had done enough to make sure this could go off without a hitch.
Yeah, well, first, Doug, your loving husband, he had a phone call with me and said, listen, nothing happens to my wife. You understand? That was like a couple of nights before. I'm like, 10 for that. So when we were doing the pregame, if you will, in the diner, and by chance, the sergeant walked in with his driver, and I got pulled to the side. And as you described, can you handle what may come your way? And then that made me tilt my head. And I'm like, yeah, I got it. Don't worry. Don't worry. There was a little tension there.
We got a lot more concerned in a very short time about what we might be walking into. And so when you see us there on the outside of the house, we are very much like, okay, this needs to be handled just right. One thing we had definitely concluded was I was not going in alone. And I was going in with Bill, who knows how to handle himself in any threatening situation. What were you going to say, Brian?
I was just going to mention that neighbors had told us that, and the police backed it up, he had exhibited some erratic behavior at different points prior to this day.
And Megyn, to your credit, I said, do you want me to go first? You're like, no, I'll go.
Well, I have you.
From the front.
It's easy to be brave when you've got Bill Stanton right behind you. No, you don't feel like anybody's going to mess with you. Okay, so let's get into it because the listeners have a lot of questions after having watched the whole series, and they were so great. Everybody watched. It's like you didn't get anybody who watched one. You had all the same people watch all 5 of them. They now have their own strong opinions on it. I'm going to start with this one from Zahn, who writes as follows. Upon listening to your interview with John Tanko, I noticed a couple of things. He repeatedly used present tense. This could indicate that it is still ongoing or not over. And here's a little montage of what he's referring to from part 5 of our series on Baby Lisa.
If you can tell us what your involvement was in the disappearance of baby Lisa.
I don't have any involvement. That's what I'm saying. None whatsoever. Yeah, I don't have any involvement whatsoever. Zero.
Never.
They refer to me as a link to this case. I don't want no involvement. I'm not involved. They feel I'm being put involved in something that I'm not involved in.
There were some instances where he used past tense, but I take the point. He does like, I am not involved. He's talking about it like it's happening right now. What do you guys think as my law enforcement experts, Phil?
Yeah, that immediately stands out. I mean, the incident occurred 13 years ago, and he's referring to the present time, and it reflects his worry that he is going to be caught. That's his biggest fear now, and much of the interview, the manner in which he responded is about the here and now as opposed to what happened way back when. And to include when he said something like, "I don't want to, face a death penalty case," or something of that nature, and truthful people don't sit around worrying about, that they're going to be at a death penalty case unless they have a reason to worry about it, and he carries that reason to worry every single day, is my opinion.
Did that jump out at you at all, Bill? The use of the present tense? Like, I can see the point. If you're asking me, did I have something to do with, I don't know, so let's say some scandal at Fox 15 years ago, I don't think I'd be sitting there saying, I have nothing to do with it. I am not involved. I think I probably would be using the past tense.
Yeah, I mean, it was a great pickup by your viewer, but it's not that one syllable, that one statement for me. If you look at this man's overall history, Brian mentioned that he lied right to his face without blinking an eye, that he was setting fires, the neighbor told you. What happened the night of the abduction? There was a fire. When you look at, in aggregate, all of his past crimes, meth addict, arsonist, he was a B&E, breaking and entering specialist. That was his thing, breaking into homes. The preponderance of evidence for me, all roads, in my opinion, lead to Jersey Joe.
Okay, so this is, which is confusing. He also went by Jersey Joe, but his name is John, but they goes by Jersey. Anyway, we're talking about the same man.
Yeah,
I'm
sorry.
On the subject of the fires, because he had a history of setting fires. Our viewer Jennifer had a question about the fire that happened the night baby Lisa went missing. For the audience just joining us and not up to speed, baby Lisa was stolen out of her crib in the middle of the night. After the mother was home, the two sons were home, they were asleep, they said. The father was out working all night on an electrician job at Starbucks. That was verified by cameras. So we never found out whether the baby was taken and killed, taken and sold. We have no idea. But the main guy we focused on in our series was this guy, John Tanko, who was a handyman in the neighborhood and had been spotted around the Irwin's house doing work. And 3 cell phones were taken from the Irwin house on the night baby Lisa went missing. One of those phones was used to call Megyn Wright. So one of those phones was used to call somebody, and the person was Megyn Wright, who was the girlfriend of John Tanko. And there had been some reporting that she had said she wanted a baby. She denied it when we talked to her. She did admit she broke up with him thinking, like, whatever, he's not a family man. This isn't the man for me. But the reporting at the time was much more specific, that she had said, I want a baby. And there was speculation he might have stolen one from her. So he likes to set fires. And that night, shortly after baby Lisa went missing, we talked in the series about how a dumpster nearby the Irwin home and near the so-called flop house where Megyn Wright had been living, which Jersey knew, and he had been there many times, was set on fire. There was a dumpster fire that was found. But in the series, we point out that they investigated, and the cops did, and didn't find anything. They did look for, signs, God forbid, of a baby or any sort of incriminating remnants. But this is what Jennifer writes. The series was fascinating. I'm curious if the fire that took place after the kidnapping was ever investigated. Is it possible Jersey was totally strung out that night, took the baby, and then burned her in the dumpster? Brian, is my information correct, right? We looked into that. It's not like the cops didn't know about that fire. They did.
Right, and I think Deborah told us also that was a dead end. There was burnt clothing in there, but it was not the baby's clothes and other garbage. By the way, that dumpster was near the flop house that she had lived in when she was dating him. On the night of the kidnapping, she was a mile away at a different flop house.
Right. Another one. This is from Jane. I just watched number 5 with Tanko. It's obvious to me, she writes, that he is guilty due to the nature of his answers and history of this case. Moreover, he states that he believes Lisa is living with a rich family, enjoying her life. Why would anyone not involved say that? I pray she is alive. I'm wondering why this statement was not addressed. Here he is in SOT 2.
Why would somebody take a baby?
You know what? The FBI asked me the same question. And I'm like, only thing I can come up with is to sell it to maybe somebody that can't have kids. You know, I mean, it sounds crazy, but I think out of all of this, that's the best case scenario that could have happened. That kid is whatever now, 13, going to school, you know, has a rich family, you know, something like that. I mean, that's the best case scenario.
Yeah.
What does that say to you guys that he went there?
Megyn, when I said at the outset of the show today that some of my views I had been, I've had to reflect on them a little bit more, this was one of those. I had told myself at one point in the case that I was guilty of wishful thinking when I thought that she had been sold. When I heard him on the video the first time I heard that answer, it shocked me into thinking that what he was trying to do potentially is put a clue on the table that what really happened to her might have been that she had been sold. And if you connect that with the belief that he is the guilty party here, then he would be the person that would have sold her, so to speak. He's using his answer is very, very deceptive. He immediately goes to the FBI, that he's talked to them. He's trying to develop some credibility. He's using convincing statements. As we know, deceptive people, when they can't share the truth because of the consequences, they almost immediately go into some form of convincing statements or efforts to influence us to believe them. And that's simply what he's doing there with his statements and his discussion about the FBI and his offer to, maybe put something on the table that would lead us in the right direction. Now, what I heard today about him sending Brian down the street, he may well be using that as a way to put us in a completely different direction. But I have to confess, as I mulled over this after episode 5, I wondered more if maybe there is a chance that little girl is still alive.
I think all the time about how, remember what happened with Elizabeth Smart, that any day, it's happened so many times, where just not necessarily that exact scenario where someone's missing and they come back, but where a story, you think it's over, you think you have it figured out, and then you get the news alert on your phone and your jaw drops. Oh my gosh, like huge development. And I really believe in my heart of hearts, one of these days, we're going to get the news alert about baby Lisa. I admit, I don't know whether it's going to be they found remains of a baby and the testing is done and it's her, or if we get the more hopeful possibility, which is this young woman went to Ancestry DNA, took a test, and found out she has a mother and father match who are other than the ones who raised her. And this girl does investigation and figures out she's actually Lisa Irwin. I mean, that's my hope. And I really believe one way or the other, we are going to find out. It's just a question of time. And it's one of the reasons I wanted to do this series. Like, let's know exactly what we know and what we don't know before that day comes, because I just feel like it will. Listen to this. Brickhouse Nutrition's Labor Day sale just went live. For a few days only, you can save 25% on everything with code LABORDAY25. Start fall off strong, reboot your health, and save big. And this massive sale includes their best-selling weight loss formula, Lean. Brickhouse Nutrition says doctor-formulated Lean helps turn excess fat into energy, reduces appetite, and curbs cravings. Lean could help you reach your weight loss goals without needles or prescriptions. Plus, you can also find Field of Greens there, a superfruit and veggie drink that promises your doctor will notice your improved health or they'll give you your money back. Plus, favorites like Radiance, their Super Collagen Booster, and even the new Brickhouse Whey Protein. It's all on sale, 25% off, but only for a few days. Kick off fall feeling stronger and more confident than ever. Head to brickhousenutrition.com. Use code LABORDAY25 for 25% off. brickhousenutrition.com, code LABORDAY25. Joanna. My thoughts are about Jersey. Let's say he was paid a large sum of money for baby Lisa. Was there any indication of that? How did he afford to move to Jersey? Did he buy that house in Jersey? Do we know the answer to that, Brian?
It's not his house. It's a woman named Lisa. I'm not going to use her last name, but it was owned by, I'm assuming, one of her parents.
The father, I think.
Before her. I think the father, before she owned. Now she owns it.
So he has no money.
He doesn't have a job, and he does not own that house. So I really don't know what his income would be.
So you're saying that the domestic partner you found in the obit was named Lisa, and the woman with whom he was sharing this house was named Lisa?
Correct. Yep.
And it's
That whole setup, Megyn, you know, the town, the horse paddock in the back, the clucking
the
chickens.
roosters.
Yeah, I was waiting for Anthony Hopkins to come running out of the back door. It was surreal at best. But, you know, Tanko is not a master criminal. He's a repetitive criminal. He's not a mastermind. Pardon my language. He's a bullshit artist. You know, if he told me the sky was blue, I'd look up before I agreed with him. So he is so adept at doing it. You know, to the average layperson, they may, he's trying to be cooperative. But thank God we have Phil on our team that can cut through all that BS and we get right down to it. That just about almost on every question you asked him was a lie.
In the scenario that we're considering of he stole baby Lisa and then he sold baby Lisa, does anyone here believe he would have received a lot of money? Like, I think we all kind of thought maybe it was a crime of opportunity. If he did it, it was a crime of opportunity. There's just no way this guy, who was a meth head, in and out of the prison system, had a connection to somebody very wealthy who was going to, like, I feel like, no, he didn't buy that house and he probably didn't buy any house. And if he stole and sold the baby, he probably got a pittance for her because he was likely just looking for a drug hit potentially, or, you know, just something to get him through the day. This is the life of an addict, recovering or using, but certainly using.
Without a doubt. I mean, it was I wholeheartedly believe, you know, people ask the question, why would he take the baby? Well, how do any of us know what runs in the mind of a meth addict? You know, if I remember correctly, he said he found the cell phones. And in my opinion, that was to cover the tracks for the attempted call. If we remember, the phone bill wasn't paid, so the phone call did not go through, but the phone company logged it as an attempt. So in his mind, being from the streets and having street smarts, you know, there's a difference. He knew he had to cover that up. So he told his attorney, or his would-be attorney, that, I found the phones. I made the call. So if anything, what I think he left the baby, or to your point, Meg, maybe have traded the baby for drugs. And what happened from there, who knows?
And in the entire series, that to me was the most incriminating thing we heard from anyone. The interview with Cindy Short, who had represented the Irwins, the mom and the dad, for a short time before being dismissed because there was sort of a turf war between her and Joe Tacopina, and he won. And then on her own, went and found Jersey in the jail, sat down with him, talked with him for some 10 hours. And in that interview, he told her he found the 3 stolen cell phones that had been taken from the Irwins' house that night, and then allegedly discarded them. And then when we got him on camera...
But he actually said he found 3 phones. He didn't know which he found stacked. You know, three phones. Who finds 3 phones together
in the middle of the night? Right.
Yeah, sure. So we actually got a question about that. This is from Rick. He writes, when Cindy talked to John Tanko, Cindy Short, the lawyer, talked to John Tanko in prison, and he said he had the phones and was with a woman. What about that woman? I watched the rest of the episode, and you never came back to if Cindy asked who the woman was. Isn't that a huge item to leave out? Let's say this woman wanted a baby, this mystery woman, and John and Megyn Wright got the baby for her. And after doing that, Megyn Wright knows how bad of a thing she did, resulting in her getting sober. Do we know anything, Brian, about the woman? I mean, this was from Cindy Short, but I don't think Cindy knew anything more about her or got anything more about her.
Correct. That's right. Cindy said she did not get a name. It was like another street person, kind of, and she had no idea who the woman was, and he didn't have her name or offer her name.
Here is, just so people are with us, here's Sot 7, Tanko, talking about what he said to Cindy Short when she visited him in the jail cell.
He did tell me, though, that he had found 3 cell phones, and he told me where he had found them. He also claimed to have told the police that he had found 3 cell phones. And he's telling me where, which is not very far from the house. So he's placing himself, not just the proximity of the phones, but in possession of the phones. He's claiming that he's with another woman.
And we have videotape of the underpass where he claims he found the phones, thanks to Brian, because this is how it works. Like, Cindy says this to me in an interview. I talked to Mary and Brian. We said we need to figure out exactly where they went. Brian went on the ground and got you guys that footage. All this stuff is just sort of a behind the scenes on how we produce TV for people. And, it takes a real live person to actually go and figure it out and talk to Cindy again, exactly where, let me get a shot. Is it representative? And let's be careful. So all that stuff went into it. Then when we confronted him, Bill, of course, I asked him about that, and he claimed it was all lies, he told Cindy Short.
Did you have those phones? Because we understand that you told a lawyer, Cindy Short, that you found those phones.
I'm seeing her whatever she wanted me to hear. I didn't tell her I found those phones. I said I found phones that night, but I didn't find them.
No? Nothing? Oh. Why?
It's because she's asked me a million questions, and I didn't want to just make her happy, whatever.
It's kind of interesting, Phil Houston, that he didn't lie. That he didn't just say, I mean, I think he did lie, but that he didn't, if he's going to lie, why didn't he just say, I never told Cindy Short that?
The lie that is concealment of the fact that they're the real phones. It sounds to me the way it was characterized is that it was a random finding of some phones. And he said, I didn't say it was those phones. And what I think he is covering
But then he also
up,
says, and I didn't tell her that. Like, now, and he's like, he says, I told her that, but it was a lie. So let me just be clear.
Yeah.
I did say something to her about 3 phones, not the 3 phones, but phones, but it was all lies that I just told her to tell her what she wanted to hear. Why wouldn't he just say, that never happened, Cindy Short's a liar?
Yeah, because he has to cover up his tracks. The original reason that he told her about finding the phones was so that if those phones were ever recovered or found, because he got rid of them somehow, and they had his fingerprints on them, and is there anyone else who saw him with those phones? For example, there was a reference to another woman, and then you have the call to Megyn Wright. If they connected in that evening, then that means that someone else knows that he was in possession of those phones. So he has to cover up and come up with a reason as to why he had some phones. Yes, exactly.
And also, Megyn, he knows he made that call. He knows it. So it's like, the planes, when they got a missile locked in, they throw up flares to distract. He is putting up so much distraction. And the best liars, in my experience, they stay as close to the truth as possible and take a baby step to the left or right. I mean, when I go undercover, that's what I do. Keep it simple, stupid, so you could remember your lies. And that's what in my opinion, that's what he's doing here. Oh, yeah, I told her I found the phones. Now, he could retract that if he was ever pressed. But in my opinion, he believes he's so far past getting convicted. That's why he felt he can engage and control the narrative.
because we don't believe his denial. We believe that he did tell Cindy Short that. And when he did that, he probably did that because he didn't know what she knew. He didn't know whether law enforcement had the phones. He didn't know exactly what the evidence would be, because this was right after the disappearance, about him and those phones. And so if he had stolen them along with the baby, he had to say enough to Cindy to find out what she knew, what does she have on the phones, but not to incriminate himself for having stolen them. That's our belief. It's all so chilling. And Phil always teaches in his deception detection class and in his book, Spy the Lie, that one of the signs, it has to be as part of a cluster, meaning within the first 5 seconds after you ask the question. Because, like, for example, looking away, that could be a sign of deception, but not if it's by itself. But if it's with another sign of deception, and Phil outlines them all, within the 5 second cluster, or within the 5 second answer, it can be a cluster, which is a deception thing. And so one of the things Phil talks about is hands above the midline. Because, Phil, why? Why do your hands go above the midline sometimes when you lie?
Typically, it's a spike in anxiety, the fight or flight or freeze response. Someone asks you a question, and it puts you on the spot. Your anxiety immediately spikes, and that spike in anxiety causes a rerouting of your circulation, and that circulation, as it rushes, away to the muscles and the things that are going to help you get away or get out of this, face this threat, they irritate the capillaries, and as a result, you find yourself, playing with your ears or your nose because blood is being drawn away from those things that normally require a lot of blood.
He's up on a ladder. He's already got a barrier between the two of us, but then he starts waving his arms around in this particular answer. Let's watch it again, just with all that in mind.
Did you have those phones? Because we understand that you told a lawyer, Cindy Short, that you found those phones.
I'm seeing her whatever she wanted to hear. I didn't tell her I found those phones.
Waving the hands.
I said I found phones that night, but I didn't find them.
More waving.
No, nothing? Oh, why?
It's because she's asked me a million questions, and I didn't want to.
Waving.
Just make her happy, whatever.
I mean, every second of it, with the hand here, and then the big, 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 and then back here, and then big, big, big. So would you peg that as anxiety, Phil?
Yeah, absolutely. It was a great question. He wasn't expecting it, and you followed up, and he thought he had satisfied you, I think, in terms of your curiosity with his answer in the previous question. And in fact, you just kept going, and he's getting more and more nervous, more anxious.
All right, Sonia, have you thought at all about how quickly Tanko answered the question about whether the ex-girlfriend, Megyn Wright, wanted a baby? The way he answered made me feel like he could have taken the baby for her, but then when he called her and said he had a baby for them, she may have freaked out. He said that was a lie very quickly and huffy, almost like she lied to him. She's referring to this right here.
One of the theories is that she really wanted a family. She wanted a kid.
Yeah, it's totally not true.
That's not true. She never said that to you.
Totally not true. No. Megyn Wright was defensive on this same point, and that the effect of that, Phil, is to make us believe it more, not less.
One of the things that jumps out immediately, he says it was totally not true. Immediately a convincing adjective, if you will, prior to making his answer, giving his answer, and he's giving you a denial. But it's a little bit like in the O.J. Simpson trial, when they asked him, are you, for a plea, he said, I'm 100%, if you believe that he was
Not
guilty. They feel the need to be more compelling in their response. And that's what he was doing there. And it was, and he doesn't realize it. And you're asking direct questions, and that's what's giving him real difficulty.
Because Brian, at the time, I mentioned this when we first got on in the show, the reporting was everywhere that she told him she wanted a baby. And when she was younger and pink-haired, she was on camera, like with Jim Spellman. But the denial she gave me on that front, the denial he gave me on that front was much stronger than I'd ever heard from them up until this point. Did Jersey ever offer to get a baby for you?
No.
The denials she gave to me and he gave to me were the strongest I'd heard from either of them on the allegation that he might have been stealing a baby, or that she might have told him she wanted a baby. Go ahead, Phil.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. At a minimum, they talked about that subject. I truly believe that they had, in perhaps the early days of their relationship before Megyn realized that this was not the guy for her, I think there was a strong possibility that they would have talked about having a child or wanting a child.
Kate writes in, and I confess I don't know this movie, but she writes in, I'm really enjoying your fascinating Baby Lisa series. I'm sure you've thought of this already, but doesn't this whole situation remind you of the Coen brothers movie, Raising Arizona, where the main character, Nicolas Cage, in a small town, is a criminal who hatches a plan with his wife to steal a baby from a family who had quintuplets. Quote, no one will notice if we steal one, in order to start a family of their own. Could Jersey, the suspect, have watched that movie and thought it would be a good idea to steal a baby to try to start a family with his girlfriend, Megyn? Here is a clip from the movie Raising Arizona with Nick Cage and Holly Hunter from 1987.
Which one you get?
I don't know. Nathan Jr., I think.
Give me here.
There's the instructions.
Oh, he's beautiful.
Yeah, he's awful damn good. I think I got the best one.
I bet they were all beautiful. All babies are beautiful.
This one's awful damn good, though.
Don't you cuss around him.
He's fine, he is. I think it's Nathan Jr.
We are doing the right thing, aren't we, Hi? I mean, they had more than they could handle.
Well, now, honey, we've been over this and over this, and there's what's right and there's what's right, and never the twain shall meet.
But don't you think his mama will be upset? I mean, overly?
Well, of course she'll be upset, sugar, but she'll get over it. She's got 4 little babies, almost as good as this one. It's like when I was robbing convenience stores.
I love him so much.
Holly Hunter, she's amazing. Now, that was 25 years before the events in question in this case, Bill, but Jersey is of a certain age, and we cannot rule out that he saw that movie, which was really popular.
Yeah, I could pretty much tell you. My guess would be absolutely not. You know, they couldn't afford their own phone. They passed around a cell phone in the meth house. I don't think they could have afforded Netflix, let alone a TV set. So
that'd be more of an
with
Amazon Primer, I think. Clever viewer, though. Yeah. I love the movie references, and one never knows. You know,
and you know what? It just shows you. You know, you're in a meth house. Lord knows what they were hopped up on, you know, and they probably rambled, I want a kid, yes, I'll get you a kid. And that may have been, you know, when the perpetrator went in that house through the front window. I remember the police said, oh, they couldn't have gone in. Meanwhile, when we went to the house, I got right in, pushed in that screen, and he walked through that house, which was chilling, and probably heard the baby stirring, and he grabbed everything that he could carry. And unfortunately, baby Lisa, in my opinion, was one of them, along with the phones.
Mm-hmm. We had the neighbors right around the corner say they saw a man with a baby, both the husband and the wife, right in the relevant time frame, and
no blanket,
that's never been explained.
Anything, just a baby.
That's right. They both saw it. They did not know that one was missing. I mean, that's such a damning fact. Okay, from Kathy. Thank you for all of your hard work. I listen to your show daily. Thank you, Kathy. It's my #1 trusted news source. Yes. If you have a chance to discuss the Tanko interview with Phil Houston again and haven't already explored the below, I was hoping Phil would talk about this. The question is, Tanko seemed aggressive when he was asked who Bill was, meaning when the subject of who Bill Stanton was. Here's what she's referring to in SOP 5.
The way I see it is we're trying to provide them with closure. You can help us do that, and with some comfort, you know, and just figuring out what the story is.
This is just big shot lawyer, ain't it?
No, he's not a lawyer. He's my friend. This is Bill. Yeah, no. In another life, he's a lawyer.
See, they do these stories, and people just trash my name. They totally trash my name.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I was involved with a lot of illegal activity back then.
What do you make of that, the focus on Bill, who he raised, I didn't raise there, Phil?
Again, Megyn, you were focusing that you opened the interview with 3 questions or 3 focuses on involvement, and you weren't going away. And he didn't know what to say, and he was a classic case of buying time. And he used the aggression also just in case Bill was with law enforcement. And he spent a lot of his life, dealing with law enforcement. And I wouldn't be surprised that if he felt that Bill, looked, acted, and could be, law enforcement. But the major benefit to him was he needed to buy time. And then, as you know, he came back and made an attempt then to answer the question. But the questioner that raised this question was absolutely correct on the aggression, because he talked very demeaningly about in Bill's direction.
It was like a stall tactic. That makes sense, because you hadn't really come up, and he wasn't like searching for more information when we first walked on Bill. It was kind of interesting. And when we were walking off, remember he said something like, are you taping this? And you said like, not with this phone. You just said something that was actually true, but not totally revealing.
Gave his own BS right back.
Yeah, exactly. He spent a half an hour BSing us. We got actually a lot of email about this one. Here it is in SOT 6.
What do you think happened to the guy? Something. What do you think should happen to the person if they had this? I don't know what happened. So, I mean, if it's a kidnapping or, God forbid, a homicide, motherfucker, Kelly, stick an email in his room.
That jumped out at us too. I remember when Bill and I were walking off property, we were both like, holy shit, is that the thing about the death penalty? That came up. What about that one, Phil?
Yes, the death penalty, again, is part of a convincing statement, and it's also part of this demon that he deals with all the time and worries about getting caught and worries that sooner or later all of this is going to become unraveled and his knowledge and our participation in it will come to light. And he's scared to death because, he knows, having been in prison, how serious these things can get, very quickly once the truth has been uncovered. And so he so fears the death penalty that he uses that as a convincing statement to enhance his answer and saying, I would never do something like that. I know, how bad the death penalty is. That was his.
Yeah, it makes sense. I should state for the record, this is Phil's opinion, his expert opinion as a deception detection expert. Jersey denies all these claims, as you've heard. That it's true, because if you asked me, did you have any what involvement did you have in the disappearance of baby Lisa? My answer would be none. I came in after she was gone to report on it as a journalist, period. And even if some people had gotten to the point of saying, maybe Megyn Kelly did it, she was there on site in Kansas City, I still don't think my response would be, this is a death penalty case. I'm not talking like that.
Yeah.
That it's interesting that that's where his mind went and the audience reacted strongly. I have a question concerning part 4. You mentioned the parents finding a charge on their debit card for a name-changing service. There's no questioning or explanation of how the charge was on their card. Is this something I missed? Great work on all of your presentations. Bob is referring to this piece of part 4 of our Baby Lisa special. 1 month after Lisa went missing, Deborah and Jeremy found a charge on a debit card, $69.04, paid to a British company that called itself a name-changing service. Bob has a point. That one we should have closed that loop a little tighter there, because that is a big one. Like, wait, what? But I don't think we found anything more on it, Brian, right? Jeremy did not know and nothing came of it.
Right. It's debit card fraud, which, happens. There's whoever took the phones and the baby did not take his debit card or a statement that had the number. So, and also, if it were Jeremy and Deborah, why would they be paying for a name changing service? So it's like, it really is a fuzzy, it's a dead end and no matter which way you go.
Yeah, because if Jeremy or Deborah stole the baby, then one would presume they'd be with the baby. They'd be raising the baby. They didn't do that. That's not true. They were together living in the same home up until very recently. So one wasn't scurrying about the world changing the baby's name so that she couldn't be identified as little Lisa. I want to tell you about Daily Look. This is a very cool idea. Their mission is simple: elevate your style. They work with top brands and emerging designers alike, like Kate Spade, AG, Good American, Girlfriend Collective, and more. Their sizes range from extra small to 3X, 0 to 24, and here's how it goes down. You fill out a style quiz with your preferences. Like, I like bold colors, I like a more tailored look. Then receive up to 12 hand-selected items at home. Keep what you love, return the rest. Shipping is free both ways. Daily Look is the highest-rated premium personal styling service for women. You get a dedicated stylist, not an algorithm, who curates each box based on your body shape, lifestyle, and taste. It's the same stylist every time. So if you say, I don't like A-line skirts, she will know not to keep pushing those on you. Try on premium pieces at home and save time. Visit dailylook.com. Use the code Megyn for 50% off your first box. It's time to get your own personal stylist with Daily Look. Head to dailylook.com to take your style quiz and use code Megyn for 50% off your first order. Once again, that's dailylook.com for 50% off. And make sure you use my promo code Megyn so they know I sent you and they give you your discount. Okay, Megyn Wright. OMG. A lot of feedback on the Megyn Wright interview. I think all four of us, and Mary too, were all really floored after that whole thing happened. Phil and Bill, you watched it with me in the wings and then came up to offer instant analysis. Brian and Mary were watching too. And it was a shocking exchange. I really didn't expect it to go as it did. The audience may remember she got very emotional and there was a turn in the interview where she was like, she cried a lot. She was very emotional, or like she purported to cry a lot. And then there was this turn where I had to ask her about, she served some time for abuse of the baby she had much later after baby Lisa. That you just have to do that as a reporter. I can't have her on and give an interview about whether she may have been involved in the disappearance of a baby and ignore the fact that later she was found guilty of medical neglect of her own child. So, it's one of those sensitive things where she's agreed to give me this interview, but we both know that this thing is going to have to come up. And boy, she wasn't happy. Here's a little bit of that in SOT 17. He was underweight. Is that what he was underweight? Severely.
Can we not talk about this? This is the worst thing in my life, and you're just dwelling on it, and I really don't appreciate it.
We can move right past.
I'm trying to participate for the sake of baby Lisa, not to focus on the worst thing in my life, the most embarrassing thing.
So, Phil, the audience did not believe the tears, and I think sided with you, who also very rough on Megyn Wright after that interview. You did not believe pretty much anything she said.
Phil was stone-faced. He was hard.
Phil was hardcore.
Yeah, I had seen other interviews with Megyn, and in my opinion, in every one of those interviews, she used the tough life. In other words, I think that much of what she's saying about how tough her life was, there's a certain amount of truth to that. And she's using it very effectively to distract people away from, what the real issue is. In other words, it gets people, take their eye off the ball and focus on this stuff. And she's very, very good at it. She started her answer with aggression, and what that typically means is that when someone really doesn't want to talk about this, they will try to shut it down right off the bat, and she did that. So I also believe that there is an underlying reason, some of the reasons that she gave, embarrassment and the worst moment in her life and so forth. But I also believe she's hiding and doesn't want to talk about her role in the mistreatment of her own child. In other words, how bad that level of mistreatment actually was, is what I think she was really trying to conceal there. That's what the deception was primarily about at that moment.
Mm-hmm. So many of the audience members had the same reaction that even my family had when we watched it together at first, which was, why would you keep that in? When they first saw her come for me, it was a very tense, awkward exchange between us. And people were like, why would you keep that in there? My God. But there was a reason. We wanted the audience to see how in this moment she turned on me. She aggressively came for me and sort of tried to emotionally stand me down. And, Phil, you can see in episode 4, had very strong thoughts about that and about her use of emotion throughout the interview.
Almost like a child, Megyn. When you put her up against, she started like crying and if we're going to look at it, go down that road, like to obfuscate, she had me tearing up and I bought it. I bought it. But now that we step back and we look in reflection, like a child, they don't get what they want or it's not going their way, start crying to bring out the humanity in us.
One thing I struggle with, and having watched it and listened to it again repeatedly, is on October 4th, when she got back from Walmart and Waffle House, she decided to become sober. Like, what? Because she got a call from the FBI? She had not yet been connected in any way publicly to anything. I put the TV on and I saw kidnap. Like, she was connecting herself.
It's
right?
a very good point.
And so that
because and even if she did see that a baby had been stolen, a baby she didn't know from a family she didn't know, why would that scare her sober? Like, why would that random news item scare her sober?
And sober ever since, okay? According to court records, she violated probation or something. It was documented that she had failed a marijuana test at least once, in the years of when she was imprisoned or afterward. And, listen, that could be the Demi Lovato California sober, right? But back in 2012 and 2013, marijuana wasn't like the, over-the-counter thing that it is now. So
true. Yeah, we got a lot of mail on people wanting to know about that, how she got scared sober. This is from M. She goes by M or he. Writes as follows. I agree with the lie detector Phil on Megyn Wright. She clearly says that she was only in a relationship with this guy for 5 months, but then she says she has post-traumatic stress disorder and cries throughout the entire interview, and then claims to know how mean and scary he is, but can't give you an answer when you ask if she thinks he could do that to a baby. And she says, I think Phil is spot on. She knows more. She just doesn't want to admit it because she's worried it will implicate her. Here's a little bit of what she's referring to in SOT 15. How likely is it, do you think, that Jersey, John Tinko, was involved in baby Lisa's disappearance?
It's hard to say, honestly. I didn't know him very well. He and I were together for less than 6 months, and we only lived together for a couple of months of that. So I didn't really know him all that well. And most of the time that we were together, we were using drugs together. It wasn't a healthy relationship where you learn what somebody's capable of.
What's that about, Phil? It's hard to say. It's hard for her to say after all this time whether he might have been involved.
It's a classic example of truth in the lie. It is hard for her to say. That's the truthful part. But and then when it's followed by a convincing statement, which is honestly, now it signals right away you're looking at this small cluster, but it's immediately telling you to be careful of what comes after that because she's giving you all, untruth.
All right, here's another piece of it that the audience member, M, referenced in SOT 16.
I have a lot of PTSD from the things that he put me through that I've tried really hard to work through over the years. But there's a lot of it I can't let go of. I can't forget being that afraid.
Were you thinking, this guy's kind of crazy? Could have been him.
Yes, I definitely thought this guy is crazy and that he was horrible to me, traumatized me. But I have no idea what he's capable of.
I mean, she's right. There's an inconsistency in her. Like, it was so traumatic. I have PTSD all these years later, but gee, I have no idea whether he could commit this crime.
These were phony tears, Megyn. If you notice, she was trying to cry as she initially started explaining. And then when you asked the follow-up question, immediately everything went away and her voice normalized, and she's back to giving you an explanation. As if, you ask, how do you bake a cake? You know what I mean? I mean, she's now back to talking normally. People who are genuinely upset don't usually make that transition that smoothly. And she's certainly not a very poised individual to begin with. And she's, she's using the tears to her advantage, or trying hard to do that.
If Megyn Wright had anything to do with the disappearance of this baby, why would she have given me the interview? That's the thing that I can't get past. She didn't have to sit with me. I'm not FBI. There's no subpoena. She knew I wasn't going to go easy on her. I never said this is going to be a walk in the park. And so she knew that she'd face tough questions, and just being questioned about it at all, if you have something to do with it, you would avoid that like the plague. It's much more consistent, like with Jersey's behavior. Get out of here. He's down the street. I'm not talking to you, random man, right? She was like, I'll do it. And she sat with me for well over an hour, Phil.
Behavioral scientists tell us, Megyn, there's only a casual relationship between human behavior and logic.
If you were to ask me, do I think Megyn Wright actively participated and knew, I'm going to say no. I'll say no to that. What I think happened was, so suppose we all knew someone that was fairly close in our life in a similar situation. We did speak about a baby. He's the number one guy. The FBI did contact her because her number was in the phone. So my feeling is more of a guilty conscience, knowing that he very well could have done it, and she just didn't want any part of it. That's what I think, her participation was. She didn't, vigorously say, hey, listen, we spoke about that, and yes, he very well could have. I think, given her mental state at that time, she just wanted out of Dodge, out of the situation, don't implicate me. I don't know who called that phone. I didn't know the Irwins, yada, yada, yada. And I think now this is her feeble attempt to try to make good on it. That was her motivation to call you, to do the interview with you.
That at a minimum, she knows it's possible he did it, and it's possible she was the inspiration behind it.
Exactly.
Which is kind of the best case scenario for Megyn. I mean, I guess the best is he had nothing to do with it, and she had nothing to do with it. But then if he had something to do with it, I don't think anybody believes he just did it on his own. Like the relationship with her was too significant and volatile and recent. And there was a discussion in some way, shape, or form, I'm convinced, about her wanting a family. She kind of denied it in our interview, but I didn't believe it.
When he went by that baby in the house that night, that was the light bulb that went off in the meth head. Let me grab it. Let me get a gold star from the woman who I want to spend my life with.
Because he had a history, Cindy Short told us, of breaking into houses and committing petty crimes, taking things like cell phones that would be easy to resell on the market and get a price for. And that's why we all concluded it was probably him, and he probably took the baby as a crime of opportunity.
And let's not forget, he was working on a house up the block that night.
He knew. What were you going to say, Phil?
The one thing that links her in my mind is what she did with her phone the night before the call occurred. In other words, she gave up her phone to other people in the house and said, here, you guys can use this tonight. Mm-hmm. Is that just a coincidence?
You have the same question as Natasha, our producer for this segment that we're doing right now. And she wrote her own questions down after having gone neck deep on all of this too. And her question is, it seems very convenient for Megyn to leave her phone behind on the night of October 3rd, the morning of October 4th, when the crime took place. Could this have been on purpose? Did police ever check out if she actually went to the Waffle House and the Walmart like she claimed? Do you know the answer to that last question there, Brian?
I don't know.
But they were
talked
very
to her,
thorough. One would have to
they
presume
never-
they did.
Yeah.
She left behind this phone. She has a phone. She's also using drugs at this point, and she leaves it behind for the trap house. Now, she explained to us this is like your kind of payment. You know, you got to show
Right.
that you're worth something in order to be allowed to live at the trap house. And I
It was
had
her
this phone, so that
contribution. Yeah.
Nobody eats for free. You got to pay your rent. And that was her, like just playing devil's advocate to what Phil was saying, like to balance it out. I'm not saying I necessarily agree, but, to me, that was a plausible answer. Okay, I'm going to the Waffle House. It's not like I have real friends in my life except that are in this house. Here, use the phone. And when I get back, I claim it. Because my understanding was she had the only active phone at that time, and they were all using it.
And we did make contact with a fellow member of the place she was living who admitted he had used her phone. He wouldn't admit on the night in question, but admitted he'd been using her phone. So she is supported on that, is she not, Brian, that she did allow the members of that house to use her phone?
2 people in the house told me that.
Yep. Okay. So on that, she may be telling the truth. Then there was this that a lot of the viewers reacted to, and Phil, you reacted to this too. What made her go sober on October 4th of all days? This is how the question here. Did Megyn ever clarify what the situation was to make her quit drugs cold turkey on the morning of October 4th? I would imagine it's pretty hard to quit meth cold turkey, especially in her living arrangement. Would the FBI calling her phone be that big of a wake-up call to a meth addict? I mean, it is true. I don't know that she ever fully explained that, what the trauma was. You say, Brian, was it like the FBI just randomly called? It was just that? The FBI called her phone when she wasn't even with it? Or she saw a news item on the television with which she says to us she had absolutely no connection? Yeah, I'm not sure we have an answer other than just the trauma of the day. A call from the FBI, news a baby had been stolen, and soon thereafter, news to her that the cell phones had dialed her number.
Oh, and one other thing, in her 20 or 21-year-old life, she already had suffered a lot of other trauma, including living in a domestic violence shelter, some other bad actor boyfriend in the months before Tango.
Mm-hmm. Here is another smart question. Natalia. I was watching the first episode of Baby Lisa, and I was wondering, what if the neighbor that was drinking with Deborah, Samantha Brando was her name, what if that woman got her drunk on purpose and had an arrangement or a debt with someone? Here's a piece from episode 1, SOT 18. Samantha and James Brando. Their family was close with the Irwins, but that day the Brandos were separating, something they had decided earlier that afternoon. James moved out just hours after Deborah and Samantha started drinking. Deborah remembers the conversation.
I was trying to help her through it and, just give her the best advice I could. And she was kind of spilling her guts, what she went through, what she's hoping she will accomplish next, custody stuff, just the deep things that come with, separation of family.
What about the Brandos, Brian? We did look into them, Samantha and James.
Samantha would not talk to us. She vociferously refused to speak to us and was very angry. James, we had a long conversation with. And he basically kind of said everything that Jim Spellman told us, that he told Jim Spellman. He had quite an itinerary that night, and a lot of it was captured on CCTV, like he went to Walmart, and he was also over at an Air Force base where he worked in the wee hours of the morning. So we didn't really get any red flags from him.
And the police had ruled him out.
The police
say they ruled out, or that they moved on from Jersey too. So, I mean, I don't know how much stock we put in them.
Yeah.
Why would Samantha Brando be vociferously against sitting with us when both Deborah and Jeremy cooperated with the piece extensively?
Well, here's an interesting, I don't know why I never was able to, I never asked Deborah this, but Samantha and Deborah stopped speaking, have not been in contact in many, many years. Like not long after the kidnapping, they no longer talked to each other. And so there was I don't know what it was, but I just thought there's some sort of negative energy that Samantha's not speaking to Deborah, and let alone getting a phone call from someone doing a podcast.
But I mean, I get it. That happens in relationships, but like you're talking about a missing baby, you'd think, and she's a critical witness. I mean, she was important. She was with Deborah the whole night while they were drinking. I don't know. That's interesting. Though I will say, to the extent she could say anything that would make Deborah look bad, it's how much worse could it be than what Deborah has told us about Deborah's behavior that night? It's not like Deborah's trying to paint herself as some perfect angel. She was very open right from the get-go, just about the first time, the first time I interviewed her, when she told us how much she had been drinking and, how she was basically blackout drunk. And I asked her about this when we did our interview. Like, why were you so honest about it? This is actually from part 1. Watch this. Do you have a drinking problem?
No, I don't think so.
Some folks are going to have an issue with you having
I'm sure they are.
more than 5 drinks while you're looking after a little baby and 2 little boys.
She was sleeping.
I wanted to ask her, why did you choose to share that with me?
Because it has nothing to do with Lisa's abduction. And I want to be honest about everything so that people will look for her. Because I feel like if they're like, oh, she's being honest about that, she's got to be telling the truth about other stuff.
So we certainly didn't need Sam Brando to document Deborah's condition. And I don't know that there was any reason to believe Samantha Brando there was no evidence whatsoever that she had anything to do with it.
We interviewed Sam, and there was no deception around Sam told us how, and I think one of the reasons why there may be some friction that ensued after that is Samantha was the one who corroborated or told us that Deborah had been stumbling drunk that night, and she depicted how much she had to drink. And I don't think Deborah wanted that to come out, obviously.
So to me, the question is, why wouldn't she come on camera? I don't have the answer to that. I would lean into maybe there was some rancor between the two of them and she just wants to put it in her rear view. But she gets a pass from me. The reason being, I was there, boots on the ground, literally days after the occurrence. And I interviewed her. I spent some significant time with her. But for me, the biggest thing, why she gets the pass for me, is that I asked her to be interviewed by Phil. And she showed no trepidation, and she did it. And to me, that was the most important inflection point, was to get Phil and Susan to interview Samantha, to remove everyone that was within touch distance that evening.
And this is right in the beginning of the case when arrests could still be made at any moment. Like she put herself in potential jeopardy by saying yes to that, and she did it willingly. Right. Okay. I just want to touch base with you again on it, Phil. So where do you stand now? Has your analysis changed meaningfully from when we ended the series?
Oh, not as far as John Tanko is concerned. I have no doubts about whether he is involved in this. As Bill noted earlier, there's so many points that of evidence and things and alleged coincidences that it's just he is in my opinion he has at a minimum significant guilty knowledge and or direct involvement, and I'm leaning much more towards direct involvement than just guilty knowledge.
And with respect to Megyn Wright,
Megyn Wright knows what happened that night. There's no doubt in my mind, and that's the one thing I went back and I have great respect for the panel here, and I was sort of a one-off on Megyn, and I really went back and looked at it and looked at a couple of the other interviews and so forth, and there's a real consistency in terms of her level or volume of deception and the efforts to distance herself using that deception away from Tanko, and she's piling on to him.
Right. And you pointed this out when we did episode 5, that he was very defensive of her. Like he shut it down that she had anything to do with it over and over. And that to you was actually kind of a tell.
He had criminals often do that. They protect each other to when it's in their best interest to do so. And it certainly is in their best interest to do so if both of them are involved.
A lot of you may have some kind of extra car just sitting around. Maybe it's an older model you don't drive anymore. Maybe it's that second vehicle just collecting dust in the driveway. Or maybe, yes, it's the one that has not moved in months and you're still not even sure it runs. Whatever it is, if you are not using it, you could be donating it. And here's a better idea than letting it rot. Donate it to Cars for Kids. That's Cars with a K. They have been doing this for over 30 years, taken over 1 million vehicle donations, and they make the process so easy, you will wonder why you didn't do it sooner. Free towing, fast pickup, no hassle, and you get a tax-deductible receipt. You donate your car, running or not, and Cars for Kids will turn it into funding for children's programs across the country. And let's not forget the jingle, 1-877-CARS-FOR-KIDS. You remember it. Go to carsforkids.org/MK. That's Cars with a K. It's fast, it's smart, it helps kids. carsforkids.org/MK. Donate your car today. Grand Canyon University, a private Christian university in beautiful Phoenix, Arizona, believes that we are endowed by our Creator with certain unalienable rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. GCU believes in equal opportunity and that the American dream starts with purpose. By honoring your career calling, you can impact your family, friends, and your community. Change the world for good by putting others before yourself. Whether your pursuit involves a bachelor's, master's, or doctoral degree, GCU's online, on-campus, and hybrid learning environments are designed to help you achieve your unique academic, personal, and professional goals. With over 340 academic programs as of September 2024, GCU meets you where you are and provides a path to help you fulfill your dreams. The pursuit to serve others is yours. Let it flourish. Find your purpose at Grand Canyon University. Private, Christian, affordable. Visit gcu.edu. Now, it's not just you, Phil, or you, Bill, or you, Brian, that thinks Jersey might not have been 100% honest with us, though Brian's probably the best person here for Jersey. It's an incredible invention that you've come up with, Phil. It's basically the AI version of you. At your company, QVerity, you've been working on an AI lie detector into which you've put all the Phil Houston magic. Can you tell us about this?
Yes, it is a tool that we're short of 3 years developing. It is an incredible lie detection system. It's text-based. So if you have a conversation with someone and that conversation can be legally recorded and transcribed, when you put it in, Q will give you the answer. Forgive me for the genderizing of Q, but when we asked Q, what did he look like? He came back with an image and it's a male, so we're calling him he. So he indicated to us with a review of some of your interview with John Tanko, tremendous deception. Now, Q is better than Phil Houston, and it's better than, I believe, anyone on the planet, and for this reason. Number one, Q has no bias. While AI can have bias, we went through something we refer to as constructive confinement. In other words, Q's existence has never been exposed to anyone or anything else but the deception, the job of detecting deception and the training and the concepts and so forth. And the reason he's better than us is for 3 reasons. The no bias, his cognitive capacity capability is far greater then it's certainly in mine, but we believe, just because it's AI, related, it's better than, in terms of detecting deception, than anyone else on the planet. His analytical processing is faster than any of our processing. So, for example, when I'm doing an interview, I spot a deceptive behavior here, a deceptive behavior there, so on and so forth. When Q does his job, he looks at each question and answer individually. He doesn't know what any of the other questions are or what other things at that moment in time. He just doesn't know it. He deals only with what's in front of him. And
so if I can interject, Megyn, it's essentially Phil is Bobby Fischer, and he invented the computer that could beat him at chess.
Every single time.
So I'm just looking at, because you've shared some of this with me, and on some of the items that we went through. Like, for example, here's you fed into him the question of his aggression toward Bill. Who's this big shot lawyer with you? And my question was, what we're trying to do is help them. The way I see it is we're trying to provide them with closure. You can help us do that, and with some comfort, and just figuring out what the story is. And his answer was, who's this big shot lawyer, Annie? Or he's this big shot lawyer, Annie? See that they do these stories, and then people just trash my name. They totally trash my name. You know what I mean? I was involved with a lot of illegal activity back then. Here's Q. In the speaker's reply, two key patterns emerge. One, hostile or dismissive attack on the question itself. Rather than answer, the speaker launches into a confrontational challenge. He's this big shot lawyer, aren't you? Which serves to intimidate or undermine the questioner instead of providing any direct information. Two, off-topic commentary that avoids the question's core demand. The speaker shifts to complaining about how they do these stories and trash my name, introducing irrelevant detail and emotional framing rather than supplying the specific answer sought. Conclusion, deceptive behavior indicated. Because these two tactics both divert attention and repel the direct inquiry, the response meets the threshold for deceptive behavior. That's so interesting, Phil. You did this with Q time and time again on all of these questions you and I just went through with the audience. And each time Q said, he's lying.
Yes. He is, he can do all of that. What he does every single question, it's segmented analysis. He's not looking at the transcript as a whole. It's as every single question and answer is he analyzes. When he moves on to the next one, you can go back and ask the previous one 100 times, and each time it will be the first time for him. He has no memory.
So he's not like, he already lied to me 5 times. I'm going to give him the likelihood of lying on time number 6, question 6.
Yeah, that's not a consideration in his analysis. It is, he's looking, so we ask him, look at this question, analyze it. He analyzes it, says it's deceptive behavior. We wipe the slate clean, it's automatically wiped away, and he moves on to the next one. He has no memory of what he just did, or ever seeing that question. And the significance of that is to preclude the development of bias. And the other thing that, Megyn, that's unbelievable, and why speed is important in the analysis, is that unlike myself, I might see a behavior or two, but with him, he looks at every single possible deceptive behavior in his training and in the book that could, not in the book we wrote, but in that we've given him to look for. There's a huge number of behaviors. He looks at every single one of those in a matter of seconds, and then gives you, and then puts that into his analysis, and then creates the narrative.
Okay, here's another one. We're going to play SOT 11, which you fed to Q. Let's watch it. This is of Tanko.
That story is that some just random person came in the house and kidnapped me, right?
Yeah.
So now the FBI's involved. They vacuum bagged the whole house. And if my DNA was in there, like from dead skin cells, I'd be charged. It wasn't in the house.
Did the cops talk to you?
Yeah, they told me this.
Did they ever take DNA?
Yeah.
They did?
Yeah.
Oh, what did they, like a saliva? They did?
Yeah.
Did they tell you that you were
They said
cleared?
I didn't have to, but I did it anyway.
Okay. And did they tell you were cleared and you were good to go?
No, they didn't say that. It's still say it's an open case.
The analysis. In reviewing the speaker's answer, I identified two categories of behavior that suggest avoidance rather than a straightforward response. One, referring back to a previous statement. The speaker says, "That's what I'm saying." This phrase explicitly points back to an earlier remark instead of adding new information. By implying the matter has already been settled, it discourages follow-up and shifts focus away from the core question. So interesting. Number two, introducing off-topic details and hypothetical scenarios. Throughout the rest of the reply, the speaker describes how the FBI might collect DNA. The FBI vacuumed out the house with my DNA. Speculates about skin cell counts. You have 1 million skin cells. Outlines procedural steps. They're going to bag it up. They're going to DNA it to me. And warns of hypothetical legal consequences. And I'd be charged. There's no doubt about it. The conclusion is deceptive behavior indicated. None of these clauses addresses the direct question. What, if any, role they played in baby Lisa's disappearance? Instead, they divert attention toward evidence and how it might be handled or why charges could follow. Because the response repeatedly relies on referring back to earlier remarks and on supplying extraneous, distraction-oriented content rather than clarifying involvement, it meets the threshold for indicating deceptive behavior. Phil, it's just like you, Phil. You're such a humble guy, despite your many accomplishments, to invent yourself right out of a job.
Yeah, it won't. I think it won't be long.
Wow.
That it will, When
we'll keep the
folks
audience
see it.
posted, because I think there'll definitely be if this is commercially available in any way, shape, or form, I know many, many members of the audience will be interested. You guys are awesome. As you guys know, we'll stay on it. John Tanko has never been charged with any crimes related to the disappearance of baby Lisa. Police have never publicly considered Megyn Wright a suspect in baby Lisa's disappearance. And we can now report that as a result of our series, the FBI has looked into this case again. The FBI has reviewed the first 5 episodes of our Baby Lisa series, and they are ready to hear from all of you if you have relevant and credible information. You can reach the FBI directly at tips.fbi.gov. That's tips.fbi.gov. They are ready to receive your inquiries. We thank FBI Director Kash Patel and his team for taking this seriously, and we will continue to bring you information as we get it.
Merrick Garland tried to insist yesterday, Megyn, that he's doing everything he can to combat crime. That's just simply not true, though. And to your point about the BLM protesters, look at what the Justice Department has done. The Justice Department has gone into court and has filed motions asking for lenient sentences or no sentences for rioters who torched buildings, who assaulted cops. I mean, you talk about, again, misplaced priorities. They're asking for those folks to get off easy or not to be charged at all, not to be sentenced at all. Meanwhile, they're out here knocking down the door, beating down the door of pro-life demonstrators. And I'm not making this up. And yesterday I asked Garland about the 25 to 30 SWAT agents, FBI SWAT agents who were sent to the home of this gentleman.
Let me interrupt you, Senator, so we can play it. I'll show the audience the moment you're referring to, and then you can pick it up on the back side, SOT 4.
Are you telling me that in your opinion as Attorney General, it was objectively necessary to use 20 or 30 SWAT-style agents with long guns and ballistic shields for these people?
What I'm saying is that decisions about how to go about this were made on the ground by FBI agents.
So you're saying you don't know?
I'm saying what I just said.
Which is that you're abdicating responsibility?
I'm not abdicating responsibility.
Then give me the answer. Philadelphia District Attorney declines to prosecute. The private suit's dismissed. You use an unbelievable show of force with guns that I just note liberals usually decry. We're supposed to hate long guns and assault-style weapons. You're happy to deploy them against Catholics and innocent children. Happy to. And then you haul him into court and a jury acquits him in 1 hour.
That was a pro-life protester that he threw the book at after the Philadelphia authorities decided he didn't do anything. Let's move on. It was like some minor altercation outside of an abortion clinic. This guy was a pro-life protester, and his son had been harassed by a 72-year-old guy. They got into a scuffle. And again, the Philadelphia authorities were like, this is a nothing. No one was hurt. Move on. And then Merrick Garland said, oh no, 30 SWAT officers or some sort of officers at that guy's door.
And this is after Megyn, this same protester, Mark Houck, after he said, listen, if you're going to arrest me, which is outrageous, but if you're going to arrest me, I'll turn myself in. He offered to turn himself in. And what did the Justice Department do? They sent to his home in the early morning hours. He has 7 children. In the early morning hours when the kids are not yet at school, they're still all in the house, he sends 30 SWAT officers there with their guns, pounding on the doors, demanding to come out. The mother has talked about this, his wife, Mrs. Houck, and has said the children were, of course, terrified. And Megyn, that's the point. It was meant to be terrifying. It was meant to strike fear into the hearts of pro-life demonstrators, of conservatives, of Catholics, of Christians everywhere. They're trying to send a message, which is don't cross the government. Don't cross the Biden administration. If you disagree with us, you keep your mouth shut. Contrast that to what they're doing with the BLM and Antifa protesters. It's just sickening, Megyn, and it's got to stop. And that's why there needs to be accountability.
It's so true. I mean, what kind of a world is it in which the BLM protesters are collecting millions as the one pro-life protester gets the book thrown at him with 30 federal officers, guns drawn, entering his home with, as he put it, my 7 babies are right here. And the wife, too, saying, I'm right. They had guns drawn on me for a man who would have surrendered himself, who was found not guilty in the end anyway. So it's like you had the right guy in the hot seat. You were asking all the right questions. And you mentioned the Catholic thing. Now, I am a Catholic, and I objected to this whole thing. And at first I was like, that can't be, come on, that's nonsense, right? It's not nonsense. It actually was brought to the attention of the public by a whistleblower who was inside the FBI, who saw this memo, I think out of Virginia, that actually called for the targeting of Catholic churches, in particular the ones where they say the Latin Mass, as like the new radicalized mosque kind of place. Like, this is where we need to go to find homegrown extremists of the white supremacist type. So you got a chance to ask Merrick Garland about this yesterday. Here's a little bit. I have a couple of them. Here's soundbite 3.
How many informants do you have in Catholic churches across America?
I don't know, and I don't believe we have any informants aimed at Catholic churches. We have a rule against investigations based on First Amendment activity, and Catholic churches are obviously First Amendment activity. But I don't know the specific answer to your question.
You don't know the specifics of anything, it seems, but apparently on your watch, this Justice Department is targeting Catholics, targeting people of faith, specifically for their faith views. And Mr. Attorney General, I'll just say to you, it's a disgrace.
Well, Senator, he has a rule. Are you not satisfied? He has a rule against doing that.
That's right. That's right. Just take him at his word. Megyn, here's the deal. Here are the facts. It's an FBI memo written on the 23rd of January of this year. We're not talking about years ago or in some land far, far away. We're talking about right here, 23rd of January. The FBI recommends recruiting informants in Catholic parishes that the FBI, designate as traditionalists. Now, whatever that means, I mean, they're making up the terms as they go along. So whatever they consider to be a traditional Catholic parish, they say it is a recruiting opportunity for observation, that means spying, and for informants. This is the most unbelievable document to be written in the United States of America. And the fact that Merrick Garland brushed it off and says he doesn't really know the details. Did you notice, though, when I asked him, how many informants do you have? He said he didn't know. He didn't say they didn't have any. He just said he didn't know. I mean, this, again, the priorities here. If you're a churchgoer, you're a religious believer, then they think you're the problem. But if you're a rioter and you want to go burn down some buildings, assault cops, hey, go for it. You know, that's social justice.
Oh my gosh. I mean, it does make you look around. I don't go to a church, or at least I don't go to the Mass where they say the traditional Latin Mass, but it does make you kind of look around the church a little differently. Like, who could it be? People probably looking at me, wondering whether I could be the person too. It's just so sick. It's like, you don't, if you've got to scrounge the pews of Catholic churches to find extremists, then we're doing pretty well right now in this country. We're doing pretty well in fighting these radical ideologies.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And again, to think of people of faith as the problem here with what we're facing, people of faith are the solution. You know, I would just venture to say that those who are going to, and I'm not Catholic myself, but I am a Christian, and those who are going to Mass or those who are going to church and are doing so faithfully, they're probably the answer to a lot of the problems we have. Certainly good neighbors. I mean, the folks who are the bedrock of our communities, and to treat them as if they are terrorists or potential terrorists need to be spied upon tells you everything you need to know about this administration's priorities. It's no wonder that they want to erase our history. They want to say this is a systemically racist nation and all the rest. They want to turn everything upside down and go send SWAT teams to believers' homes. I mean, it is truly insane. But Megyn, I really do believe that sunshine is a great disinfectant. This is why these hearings are important. You got to bring this out to the light because, as you pointed out, we'd only know about this memo because of a whistleblower. If it weren't for him or her, we would never know. You got to bring this out into the public so people can see what these folks are actually doing, so they can see what Merrick Garland is actually doing. And when you see it, it's indefensible.
And just to correct myself, it was a former FBI agent turned whistleblower who published the document on uncoverdc.com. That's how we first found out. So you've heard me talk about Bonner Private Wine Partnership, right? They have these incredibly rare Malbecs that you've got to try. If you enjoy a glass of wine, try these wines from the extreme altitudes of Argentina. The flavor's unlike any other. Blackberry, leather, smoke, little dark cherry in there. And these wines are nearly impossible to get on your own. The producers deep in the Andes Mountains make limited quantities. The best part, they have cut out the middleman, so you are not going to deal with a big markup. Today, we have a great offer for you. If you visit bonnerprivatewines.com/MKS, you will not only get the wine for over 50% off plus free shipping, you'll also get a bonus bottle of small batch, limited production wine from their exclusive wine cellar. That's 4 bottles for the price of 3. It's a deal that's hard to turn down if you're a wine lover like I am. Just visit Bonner, BONNER, privatewines.com/MKS to claim your bonus bottle and become a part of America's most unique wine club. Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes. Good morning, everyone. I'm Megyn Kelly. It's Friday, February 21st, 2025, and this is your AM update.
The yeas are 51. The nays are 49. The confirmation is confirmed.
Kash Patel is confirmed to a 10-year term as FBI director, with a surprise supporter carrying him across the finish line.
It was so humiliating, so disgusting, so despicable. Even the UN Commissioner on Human Rights condemned it strongly and fiercely.
Our worst fears confirmed. Hamas terrorists parade the coffins of the innocent Bibas children through the streets of Gaza before returning the tiny captives to Israel. We'll have a full report. And a new slate of polls shows slight changes to President Trump's approval rating. And is Doge about to send you a refund check? All that and more coming up on your AM Update. This show is dedicated to uncovering the truth in a media landscape often dominated by left-leaning narratives, especially when it comes to President Trump. It's safe to say you can expect more agenda-driven stories and factual distortions all over the rest of the news. But I do want to tell you about Ground News. Unlike other platforms that censor or amplify certain narratives, Ground News is not a news publisher. They're an independent app and website that aggregates every source on a story so you can compare coverage and see through mainstream media spin. Ground News has an entire blind spot feed with stories that are receiving lopsided coverage. It truly reveals how media narratives are shaping the conversation. My viewers are going to get 40% off their Vantage plan, which gives you unlimited access to their website and their app. They are independent. They are supported by subscribers, not corporate interests. You can check them out at groundnews.com/Megyn. That's ground, GROUND, news.com/Megyn to take back control of the news you consume. Kash Patel confirmed as FBI director. The vote was 51-49. Senator Mitch McConnell surprising many with his vote in favor of Mr. Patel. Republican Senators Susan Collins of Maine and Lisa Murkowski of Alaska joining every Democrat to vote against the nominee. Mr. Patel was believed to be one of President Trump's most controversial nominees. In fact, many pundits on both sides suggested there was zero chance he would make it through. Yesterday morning, 6 Senate Democrats held a brief press conference outside of the Hoover building in one last-ditch effort to protest his confirmation.
Kash Patel, mark my words, will cause evil in this building behind us.
He's an instrument of Donald Trump's effort to destroy the Justice Department and the FBI so that he is absolutely and completely not only above the law, but beyond the law.
This is a real danger and a real threat.
This vote will haunt you. You will be held accountable.
He is a yes man for President Trump, already undermining the critical bureau he wants to lead.
Former Congressman, now Senator Adam Schiff of California also weighed in.
He will misuse the resources of the Bureau. He will weaponize it against the president's political opponents rather than protecting the safety, the public safety of the American people.
As a congressman, Mr. Schiff was removed from his position on the House Intel Committee by former Speaker Kevin McCarthy. As then chairman of that committee, Mr. Schiff led the hearings investigating Russian influence in the 2016 election. For years, he told the American people that behind closed doors, he had seen evidence of President Trump's direct collusion with Russia to win the 2016 election.
Donald Trump was really the one who enabled this Russian operation to be so successful by giving them cover, by denying it was even happening, by denying it was the Russians.
Well, I think there's plenty of evidence of collusion or conspiracy in plain sight. You can see evidence in plain sight on the issue of collusion, pretty compelling evidence. There's ample evidence of collusion in plain sight, and that is true.
Follow-up investigations revealed none of that. In fact, we've learned that the story was based off of phony intel originally funded by the Clinton campaign. The FBI knew the intel was questionably sourced, but used it anyway to secure FISA warrants that allowed them to spy on Trump advisor Carter Page and, by extension, the Trump campaign. Text messages between two top FBI agents revealed their plan to, quote, stop Trump from getting elected. Republicans frequently criticized the FBI under the Biden administration, which created a specific threat tag, edu officials, that would monitor parents attending school board meetings as potential threats. A leaked January 2023 FBI memo proposed monitoring some Catholics, suggesting Catholics interested in the traditional Latin Mass could be linked to extremist groups. That memo was later retracted. Trust in the FBI has been on a steady decline. A 2003 Gallup poll showed 53% rated the FBI as good or excellent. As of 2024, that number had dropped to 41%. President Trump campaigned on a promise of rooting out partisan actors from the Justice Department and FBI. A DOJ spokesperson said earlier this week, quote, this DOJ will return to its core function of prosecuting dangerous criminals, not pursuing politically motivated witch hunts. Like Mr. Trump, Bobby Kennedy, and Tulsi Gabbard, Kash Patel is a fierce critic of the very bureau he now oversees. He made the following statement in a September episode of The Sean Ryan Show.
The biggest problem the FBI has come out of its intel shops. I'd break that component out of it. I'd shut down the FBI Hoover building on day one and reopening it the next day as a museum of the deep state. And I'd take the 7,000 employees that work in that building and send them across America to chase down criminals. Go be cops. You're cops. Go be cops.
Mr. Patel played a key role identifying FBI misconduct related to the Steele dossier. Reuters reports that in the first month of the second Trump administration, at least 75 career DOJ lawyers and FBI officials have either resigned, been fired, or stripped of their posts. FBI directors typically serve 10-year terms. Prior to his vote for Kash Patel yesterday, Senator Mitch McConnell announcing his own retirement.
Representing our Commonwealth has been the honor of a lifetime. I will not seek this honor an eighth time. My current term in the Senate will be my last.
After voting against Tulsi Gabbard, Pete Hegseth, and RFKJ, many expected the senator to oppose Patel as well. That would have left the tie-breaking vote to Vice President J.D. Vance. First elected to the Senate back in 1984, Mr. McConnell holds the title of longest-serving Senate party leader in American history. Despite a contentious relationship with President Trump's nominees this time around, Senator McConnell played a crucial role in shepherding Neil Gorsuch, Brett Kavanaugh, and Amy Coney Barrett onto the U.S. Supreme Court. Coming up, the Bibas children are returned to Israel. The latest on Trump polling and possible Doge refund checks? All this and more in just a moment. The IRS is the largest collection agency in the world. And with April 15th fast approaching, it's more aggressive than ever. If you owe back taxes or have unfiled returns, waiting is not an option. And let's face it, it's stressful. Get this handled. April 15th could mark another tax year that has passed you by. So the smart thing to do is to get ahead of it right now. But listen, never contact the IRS alone. That's crazy talk. Don't do that. Instead, you could let the experts at Tax Network USA handle it for you. Why? Well, not all tax resolution companies are the same. Tax Network USA has a preferred direct line to the IRS, so they know exactly which agents to deal with and which to avoid. That can be very useful to you. With proven strategies to settle tax problems in your favor, whether you owe 10 grand or 10 million, Tax Network USA's attorneys and negotiators have already resolved over $1 billion in tax debt. Speak with one of their strategists today for free. Don't let the IRS control your future. Call 1-800-958-1000 or visit tnusa.com/Megyn. tnusa.com/Megyn. April 15th is just around the corner. You act now. Get it off your plate before the IRS acts first. 4 bodies returned yesterday to Israel from the Gaza Strip. Israeli officials say one of them, expected to be Shiri Bibas, is not actually her and does not match any other hostage. The Israeli military releasing this statement, quote, "This is a violation of utmost severity by the Hamas terrorist organization, which is obligated under the agreement to return 4 deceased hostages. We demand that Hamas return Shiri home along with all other hostages." Officials did confirm the remains of her 2 young sons, Ariel, age 4, and Kafir, just 9 months old when they were taken from their homes, barefoot and in their PJs, on October 7th, 2023. The boys, the youngest of the 253 hostages taken that day, became a harrowing symbol, both to the Israeli people and to the world, of the sheer brutality of Hamas's attack. As with prior living hostages, the Hamas terrorists paraded the bodies through the streets with loud music blaring, almost celebratory, some members of the crowd cheering as the caskets of the babies passed by. The 4 black boxes then displayed on a podium, each with a picture of the hostage at the base, their name, and words in Arabic, October 7th, date of arrest. On display behind them, an image of Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu with fangs and blood spatters with the words, quote, "The war criminal Netanyahu and his Nazi army killed them with missiles from Zionist warplanes," a claim totally unsupported by any evidence. Israeli President Herzog on MSNBC reacting to the barbaric scene.
I think that is a true reality of what we Israelis have been going through with these jihadists who've taken over Gaza and turned it into an Iranian terror base against Israel, with their hate and with a lack of morality and with a barbaric approach to life. But it was so humiliating, so disgusting, so despicable. Even the UN Commissioner on Human Rights condemned it strongly and fiercely.
The coffins were scanned for explosives before they were returned by the Red Cross to Israel. The remains of the 4th hostage, also confirmed by Israeli officials, were those of Oded Lifshitz, 83 when he was taken hostage. He was the founder of the kibbutz Nir Oz, the village where he and the Bibas family lived. Mr. Lifshitz worked for many years as a journalist for a left-leaning newspaper. President Herzog spoke about his life and work.
The other person is Oded Lifshitz, an 86-year-old retired elderly peace activist who used to work with the Palestinians on a daily basis to help them in any way they need.
The Times of Israel reporting Mr. Lifshitz was an Arabic speaker. He worked with an organization called Road for Recovery. He would drive weekly into the Gaza Strip, shuttling Palestinians in need of medical treatment into Israel. Oded's wife, Yocheved, tells the Times of Israel her husband, quote, "fought for the Palestinians his whole life. They betrayed him and took him to hell." Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu addressed the Israeli people yesterday, saying, quote, "Our hearts may be broken, but our spirit is not. And with this spirit, we will return all of our hostages. We will destroy the murderers. We will eliminate Hamas. And together, with God's help, we will ensure our future. 6 more hostages are set to be released tomorrow. Phase 2 of these negotiations are now in the preliminary stage. Earlier this week, Mr. Netanyahu reportedly told his cabinet the conditions for entering Phase 2 will require Hamas to disarm and to have no presence in Gaza. A fresh slate of polls showing a slight decrease in enthusiasm for President Trump's job approval. CNN's Harry Enton breaks it down.
The worst day of polling for Donald Trump during his entire second term in office. What am I talking about here? Take a look at Trump's net approval rating. CNN, you see it on this side of the screen, -5. Gallup, -6. Ipsos, -7. Quinnipiac, -4. Negative, 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 negative. Underwater, 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 underwater.
Enton saying it's the worst day of polling in Trump's second term. All of the polls he referenced come out on a monthly basis, and President Trump is just 1 month into his second. Each of the 4 polls referenced have Mr. Trump's approval in the mid to upper 40s, with strong support amongst Republicans. Amongst all voters, CNN shows Mr. Trump with a 47% approval rating compared to 52% who disapprove. Gallup has it 45 to 51. Washington Post Ipsos 45 to 53, and Quinnipiac 45 to 49. According to the Real Clear Politics polling average, President Trump is at a 48% favorable and 49% unfavorable rating, although these new polls are not factored into those numbers. President Trump's approval rating remains far above his first term, which never got higher than 44%. Potential for a DOJ-funded tax refund? The DOJ team reports they have saved $55 billion of taxpayer money. The official website says the savings come from fraud detection, contract cancellations, and asset sales, among other actions. Earlier this week, investment manager James Fishback proposed issuing a refund to taxpayers on X with these savings. Elon Musk responding, "We'll check with the president." The idea picking up traction throughout the week. President Trump addressed it in Miami on Wednesday.
There's even under consideration a new concept where we give 20% of the DOJ savings to American citizens and 20% goes to paying down debt, because the numbers are incredible, Elon.
In the briefing room yesterday, Stephen Miller outlined how the concept might play out.
The way that it works is when you achieve savings, you can either return it to taxpayers, you can return it to our debtors, or it can be cycled into next year's budget, and then it just lowers the overall baseline for next year.
And when is it that people might see those checks?
Well, this is all going to be worked on through the reconciliation process with Congress.
A common Republican criticism of the Biden administration was that the stimulus checks were inflationary and counterproductive. CNN's Caitlin Collins asked Kevin Hassett, director of the National Economic Council, if he has any concern that DOJ refunds could have the same effect.
Oh, absolutely not, because imagine if we don't spend government money and we give it back to people, then if they spend it all, then you're even. But they're probably going to save a lot of it, in which case you're reducing inflation. And also, when the government spends a lot, that's what creates inflation. We learned that from Joe Biden.
Right now, the House and Senate are working on budget proposals. Any DOJ refunds would have to come from the budgeting process. Fort Knox, the 109,000-acre property located in Kentucky, is one of the world's most tightly guarded locations. It holds about 161 million ounces of gold, approximately 59% of the U.S. Treasury's total supply, according to the U.S. Mint. Or does it? Elon Musk saying, prove it. The last public tour of Fort Knox was in 1974 under President Gerald Ford. A group of congressmen and some journalists became the second tour group outside of authorized personnel to take a peek around. The first look was President Franklin Roosevelt back in 1943, 10 years after the fort opened. As part of the wider DOJ audit of the federal government, Mr. Musk is encouraging President Trump to investigate Fort Knox. President Trump responding to the idea on Wednesday aboard Air Force One.
We do want to look. we hope everything's fine with Fort Knox, but we're going to go to Fort Knox, the fabled Fort Knox, to make sure the gold is there.
Where would the gold have gone?
If the gold isn't there, we're going to be very upset.
Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent said in a separate interview on Wednesday, quote, "All the gold is present and accounted for." He says the Treasury Department conducts an audit every year. It is, after all, Fort Knox. That'll do it for your AM update. I'm Megyn Kelly. Join me back here for the Megyn Kelly Show, live on SiriusXM Triumph Channel 111 at noon East, on youtube.com/Megyn Kelly, and on all podcast platforms. Good morning, everyone. I'm Megyn Kelly. It's Tuesday, February 25th, 2025, and this is your AM update.
So the agreement's being worked on now. They're very close to a final deal.
Despite some tension between Presidents Trump and Zelensky, the U.S. and Ukraine are close to signing an agreement. As the U.S. prepares to make a significant financial investment into Ukraine, European leaders step up to provide security assurances.
We're able to announce the closure of this site. We're closing 53 sites within the span of a year.
New York City Mayor Eric Adams announces the closure of the four-star hotel that was used as a command center to receive thousands of migrants under the Biden administration. And a major shakeup at MSNBC leaves viewers without any joy. All that and more coming up on your AM Update. So many people these days are super focused on their health, right? On eating healthier and living healthier. And in that vein, let me tell you about Jacob and Kristen, the founders of We Heart Nutrition. They are raising 5 kids while running a company that is helping hardworking Americans to live that American dream. We Heart Nutrition makes high-quality, research-backed supplements for women and men at every stage of life, helping you stay strong, energized, and hitting your wellness goals. But this is not just another supplement company. They are proudly pro-life, donating 10% of every sale to pregnancy care centers, supporting moms and babies in need. They have over 1,000 5-star reviews from real people who are seeing real results. Go to weheartnutrition.com and take their quick 20-second quiz to get your personalized supplement subscription recommendation delivered right to your door each month. And right now, they are giving you 20% off your first order with my code, Megyn. Invest in your health. Go to weheartnutrition.com and use the code Megyn for 20% off. That's weheartnutrition.com, code MEGYN. Despite many public barbs and expressions of discontent, the U.S. and Ukraine are reportedly within inches of signing a deal that would forge an extended economic partnership. The latest details, confirmed to Axios by Ukrainian officials, call for a reconstruction investment fund. The U.S. and Ukraine will be co-managers. The Ukrainians will contribute $500 billion to the fund, double what the U.S. will put in, expected to take the form of minerals. This appears to be a compromise from President Trump's initial position that Ukraine would have to pay the U.S. back for its support over the last 3 years. The draft of the agreement reads, quote, "The government of the United States of America intends to provide a long-term financial commitment to the development of a stable and economically prosperous Ukraine. The fund will invest in projects in Ukraine, which they hope will lure other investors into Ukraine, along with new development prospects. Further details from the agreement stipulate some direct repayment to the U.S. for its aid, though the exact terms remain unclear." President Trump commented on the agreement from the Oval Office yesterday while hosting French President Emmanuel Macron.
I will be meeting with President Zelensky. In fact, he may come in this week or next week to sign the agreement, and which would be nice. I'd love to meet him. Would meet at the Oval Office. So the agreement's being worked on now. They're very close to a final deal. It'll be a deal with rare earths and various other things, and he would like to come, as I understand it, here to sign it, and that would be great with me. I think they'd then have to get it approved by their council or whoever might approve it, but I'm sure that will happen.
President Trump stating the war could end within weeks, quote, "if they are smart." Terms of the deal do not include any type of U.S. military commitment in Ukraine. It is purely an economic proposition backed by the idea that an area of strong financial interest for America will not be an easy target for the wandering eye of Russian President Vladimir Putin. Since taking office, President Trump repeatedly stated his expectation is for European leaders to take more of a lead in protecting Europe. French President Emmanuel Macron has been a leader in rallying European leaders to contribute more, holding 2 emergency sessions to coordinate Europe's response. Mr. Macron spoke about those efforts yesterday at the White House via a translator.
And we've also been able to speak about some of this work with our British partners to talk about deployments of peace forces on Ukrainian soil, which are part of these security guarantees. Other countries are ready to join in this effort. We have the same wish, the renewal of an international situation where we are all able to shoulder our responsibilities, Europeans shouldering their responsibilities alongside their American allies who will shoulder their own responsibilities. Europeans need to do more for security in Europe, for defense in Europe, and to more fairly share the security burden that your country's been carrying for so many years.
Earlier in the day, President Trump was asked if President Putin will accept European troops in Ukraine as peacekeepers. The president responding from the Oval.
Yeah, he will accept that.
He will accept
I've asked him that question.
You talked to me?
I've asked him that question. Look, if we do this deal, he's not looking for more war. He doesn't mind. But I've specifically asked him that question. He has no problem with it.
President Trump says at some point he will meet with Mr. Putin. Over the weekend, Russia's Deputy Foreign Minister, Sergei Ryabkov, telling Russian state media the groundwork for the summit is underway, and topics will include wider talks on global issues, not just the war in Ukraine. British Prime Minister Keir Starmer is scheduled to visit the White House on Thursday for further discussions on European participation in Ukraine's security. Meanwhile, in Germany, the potential next chancellor is telling his European counterparts the U.S. cannot be relied on. Friedrich Merz, hot off his Sunday election win, criticizing the Trump administration's approach to negotiations with Russia, saying the attempt to make a deal with Russia on Ukraine, in his view, without the Europeans or Ukraine, is unacceptable. Mr. Merz saying if they, quote, do not just make America first, but America alone their motto, then it will be difficult. He followed up on that comment with optimism that he will succeed in maintaining the transatlantic partnership. But before Mr. Merz can shape Germany's foreign policy, he has to secure his own path to power at home. Germany's parliamentary system means parties have to form coalitions. Merz's center-right coalition secured just 29% of the seats. In second place, the AfD, the Alternative for Germany party. They won about 21% of the seats. The conservative government, voted for by about half of the German population, will likely not come to fruition, however. Historian Victor Davis Hanson explained further on the Megyn Kelly Show yesterday.
Constructive criticism, it says we want you to live up to your Western obligations to ensure free speech. And it's going to make it much worse because if you took the AfD's vote and Merz's vote, it's about 51% of the people, and they should have a conservative government.
Yes.
But he's going to reach out to the Green Party and the Social Democrats, and there's not going to be a conservative voice in Germany, and that's going to make people even angrier after they feel they voted for a conservative majority.
Coming up, New York City Mayor Eric Adams says the Roosevelt Hotel converted migrant processing facility is closing. And a big shakeup at MSNBC leaves viewers joyless. These days, personal safety is not something that can be left to chance. Whether at home, on the road, or just living everyday life, having a reliable way to protect yourself and your family is crucial. That's why Byrna is the choice for many. Byrna is a game-changing, less lethal self-defense tool. Compact, powerful, and easy to use, it provides the confidence to act in any situation. Byrna uses non-lethal rounds, tear gas, pepper, and kinetic projectiles to effectively stop a threat from a safe distance. And the best part? Byrna can be shipped direct to your door, and it's legal in all 50 states. Byrna is proudly American with products hand-assembled in Fort Wayne, Indiana. Sometimes a firearm is not the right option for you, and Byrna provides a powerful alternative. Protect what matters most with Byrna. Visit Byrna.com, that's Byrna.com/Megyn, to receive a 10% discount and learn why thousands of people and law enforcement agencies are making the switch to Byrna's less lethal protection. Byrna, non-lethal self-defense, always ready. New York City Mayor Eric Adams announcing the closure of the Roosevelt Hotel, used as a processing center and migrant shelter since 2023.
Our administration has skillfully managed this crisis, which has seen over 232,000 migrants enter our city asking for shelter, and the Roosevelt Hotel has been key in allowing us to effectively manage our operation processing almost 75% of individuals that have come into our care through these doors. Now, thanks to the sound policy decisions of our team, we're able to announce the closure of this site and help even more asylum seekers take the next steps in their journeys while simultaneously saving taxpayers millions of dollars. With this closure, we're closing 53 sites within the span of a year.
A flashpoint of the immigration debate, the 4-star accommodation rented out by taxpayers under a $220 million contract, providing lodging for thousands of migrants brought in under the Biden administration. The city quickly began to collapse amid the influx of migrants bussed to the city by Texas Governor Greg Abbott. The 4,000 migrants arriving per week in New York at that time, just a tiny fraction of the onslaught Texas was dealing with along the southern border. In December, Mayor Adams' office reported that the arrivals had fallen to just 800. New York City is a sanctuary city with a right to housing, meaning the city was barred from cooperating with ICE officials, and they were required to provide shelter for all new arrivals. The Roosevelt Hotel and other shelters will officially close by June of this year. With the arrival of the Trump administration, Mayor Adams promised to increase cooperation between city and federal officials. Critics of the mayor say this closure is the product of a quid pro quo deal. Mayor Adams was facing corruption charges brought under the Biden administration. They were dropped by the Trump DOJ. Mayor Adams denies the allegations. He began publicly speaking out about the immigration crisis in the summer of 2023, saying, quote, "Our cup has basically runneth over. We have no more room in the city." Documents obtained by CBS suggest the Trump administration is preparing to implement Title 42, the order used during COVID to expel incoming migrants on the grounds of health concerns without entertaining any asylum claims. Title 42 was first implemented under Trump 1.0. The Biden administration kept it in place until 2023. CBS reporting the CDC is planning to issue an order labeling the illegal immigrants as a public health risk. In May 2024, a measles outbreak in Chicago was traced back to a migrant shelter. Joy Reid out of a job as MSNBC's new president makes major programming changes. Reid is the highest profile star of the network to get the axe, though others are now going too. In December, Reid was reportedly required to take a pay cut from her alleged $3 million salary in order to hold on to her chair. Never a good sign. The network plans to fill the time slot with a panel show hosted by Simone Sanders Townsend, who previously worked as a senior advisor to Kamala Harris, Michael Steele, never Trumper, who at one point headed the RNC, and left-wing journalist Alicia Menendez, the daughter of former Democratic Senator Bob Menendez. The final episode of The Readout aired last night.
The readout worked because everybody from the interns on up put their whole heart into it. Much love to everybody who made the readout great. Shout out to our amazing readers, our audience. I just love running into y'all in the airport, on these streets, and on social media. I could not love or appreciate you more. Thank you for holding us down. Almost 5 years. We are a toddler, and we out in these streets in this world, and we are not going to stop.
Those 4 viewers are really going to miss her. Alex Wagner, host of the 9 p.m. slot 4 days per week, is getting a demotion to correspondent. Former Biden White House press secretary Jen Psaki will take over that time slot after the conclusion of the first 100 days of the Trump administration. That's when Rachel Maddow goes back to work, hosting just 1 day a week while still earning her $30 million paycheck, reportedly. Earning? That'll do it for your AM update. I'm Megyn Kelly. Join me back here for the Megyn Kelly Show later today, live on SiriusXM Triumph Channel 111 at noon East, on youtube.com/Megyn Kelly, and on all podcast platforms. Good morning, everyone. I'm Megyn Kelly. It's Thursday, February 20th, 2025, and this is your AM Update.
This is a negotiation between two fractions of the party that is saying we're willing to work together.
President Trump's choice to head the Labor Department takes center stage on Capitol Hill. Supporters say Labor ally Lori Chavez DeRemer is the latest pick representing a new Republican coalition. But will the Republicans go for it?
Science and democracy were born together during the Enlightenment, and they share the same ideals for openness, for public access, and for transparency.
As skepticism toward the scientific establishment grows, a new chapter begins at HHS. RFKJ takes the helm, vowing to increase transparency.
They got left in space.
They've been there. They were supposed to be there 8 days. They're there almost 300.
Elon Musk says he's been given the green light to return the NASA astronauts from space following a months-long extended journey up there. And the latest in the legal drama between Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni. All that and more coming up in just a moment on your AM Update. There is a real and growing threat to your home and your equity, and it's called title fraud. Here's how it works. Criminals can forge a single document, file it with a recorder, and just like that, your home's title is stolen. They take out loans against your property, draining your equity, and you wouldn't even know that it had happened until it was too late. Here's the really scary part. Credit monitoring will not protect you from this problem. But I do want to tell you about Home Title Lock to protect your home and your equity. Their exclusive triple lock protection will give you 24/7 monitoring of your home's title, urgent alerts if there are any changes, and a team of experts to help restore your title if fraud happens at no extra cost. Home Title Lock is offering an exclusive 25% off their protection plans. Go to HometitleLock.com, use promo code Megyn25 to get 25% off your subscription and a free title history report to ensure that you're not already a victim. Protect your home and equity today. HometitleLock.com, promo code Megyn25. Lori Chavez DeRemer, front and center before the Senate Health, Education, Labor, and Pensions Committee in her bid to head the Labor Department. The nomination ruffled Republican feathers. A former representative from Oregon, Ms. DeRemer once co-sponsored a bill protecting the right to organize. The bill was lauded by Democrats for strengthening labor protections and expanding workers' rights. Republicans lambasted the bill for its provision overturning right-to-work laws, which make it illegal to require workers to join a union or pay union dues as a condition of employment. These protections exist in 27 states. Republican members of the committee questioned Ms. DeRemer on her past support for some provisions of this proposed law.
Do you still support the PRO Act or don't you support the PRO Act?
I fully, fairly, and support states who want to protect their right to work. I have said that to every senator that I have
So
visited
you
with.
no longer support the aspect of the PRO Act that would have overturned state right-to-work laws?
Yeah, there were so many parts.
That's a yes?
Yes.
Do you continue to support the elimination of secret ballots in union elections?
I do not support that portion.
That was Kentucky Senator Rand Paul and then Maine Senator Susan Collins. Ms. DeRemer's biggest obstacle? GOP hesitancy. Oklahoma Senator Markwayne Mullin tried to soften GOP resistance when introducing Ms. DeRemer prior to her opening remarks.
Lori represents someone that is uniquely positioned to bring people like Sean and I, who presented Lori to President Trump and said, this is someone that we can work together with. This is a negotiation between two fractions of the party that is saying we're willing to work together.
The Sean Mr. McMullen is referring to there is Sean O'Brien, president of the International Brotherhood of Teamsters. Senator Mullen and Sean O'Brien, highly unexpected allies, not least of which because of this exchange we saw at a committee hearing back in November 2023, where the two nearly came to blows.
In fact, you tweeted at me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. And let me read what the last one said. Quit the tough guy act in these Senate hearings. You know where to find me. Any place, anytime, cowboy. Sir, this is a time, this is a place. If you want to run your mouth, we can be two consenting adults. We can finish it here.
Okay, that's fine. Perfect.
You want to do it now?
I'd love to do it right now.
Well, stand your butt up then.
You stand your butt up.
Oh, hold on.
Big guy.
Oh, stop it.
Is that your solution, every problem?
No, sit down.
That was Bernie Sanders there, full-time senator, part-time referee. Sean O'Brien telling Fox News he is ready to go to the mat to get Ms. DeRemer confirmed. Overall, the hearing generally lacked many fireworks. Democrats and Republicans both emphasizing the importance of growing apprenticeship training. Mr. Reamer agreed. When you're down to apprenticeship training, you're in a good place of seeing your nominee confirmed. Virginia Senator Tim Kaine did lay a bit of a trap for Mr. Reamer at one point.
Should you be confirmed, would you take those obligations to watch out for American veterans seriously?
Absolutely.
If you became aware that an employer, a major employer, was taking actions that disproportionately negatively affected veterans, would that concern you?
Yes.
The mass firing that President Trump is doing within the federal government right now is hitting veterans very, very hard. The civilian workforce is about 3% veteran. The federal workforce is 30% veteran.
Important context there, the Trump administration is not targeting veterans. These are broad cuts designed to lessen the size of government across the board. As Senator Kaine himself points out, the government hires a high number of veterans. Therefore, any broad cuts would naturally affect veterans too, but in no way are they being singled out. Senate Democrats also used their time at the hearing to target Elon Musk.
Will you be a rubber stamp for the anti-worker agenda of Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, and other multi-billionaires who are blatantly anti-union? They don't make any bones about it.
Will you commit to denying access to Elon Musk or any of his representatives to information about labor violations at OSHA?
It seems like Mr. Musk is getting a big payback from Mr. Trump right in the first month of this administration, and that concerns us greatly.
DOJ's access to federal agencies remains a top issue for Democrats. Elon Musk, derided by Dems as a private citizen rummaging through federal databases for personal gain, a claim that's unsubstantiated. Earlier this week, the White House outlined the parameters of Mr. Musk's federal employment status. He is a special government employee serving as a senior advisor to the president. Joe Biden had lots of those too. The filing states, like other senior White House advisors, Mr. Musk has no actual or formal authority to make government decisions himself. He can only advise the president and communicate the president's directives. Democratic attorneys general and other left-leaning groups have launched multiple lawsuits aimed at curbing the president's executive authority. One judge even going so far as to demand the White House restore certain web pages at the NIH. As has become custom in these hearings, Democrats repeatedly ask what the nominee would do if asked to violate the law. Ms. DeReamer, consistent in her response.
The President of the United States has the power to determine what he's going to do through his executive power. I am not been confirmed. I have not been read into all that.
I'm asking you, will you follow the law?
I will always follow the
There
law
is
and the
an empowerment
Constitution.
control.
She added she does not believe the president will give her an illegal order. Coming up, RFKJ's first full day as head of HHS, and Presidents Trump and Zelensky trade barbs as the U.S. leads peace negotiations on the Ukrainians' behalf. As President Trump begins his new administration, one of the top Democrats in Congress aiming to undermine the Trump agenda is Senator Dick Durbin. And according to our sponsor, the Electronic Payments Coalition, Senator Durbin has a new scheme, a government takeover of your credit card. Today, Americans have thousands of choices in credit cards, but they say Senator Durbin's plan will result in less competition and less security. And that means more risk for your credit and your identity. Learn more at guardyourcard.com and consider telling your senators to stop Dick Durbin's government takeover of your credit card before it's too late. After a highly contentious confirmation process, RFKJ arrives for his first day as head of Health and Human Services. HHS is a massive department overseeing an approximately $1.7 trillion budget with 11 divisions. As head of the department, RFKJ will oversee public health, social services, and medical research. He will be a critical figure in developing and implementing the Trump administration's healthcare policies. This is a department with its work cut out for it. From RFKJ's remarks on Tuesday.
In the U.S., 6 out of every 10 adults have at least one chronic disease, and 4 in 10 have 2 or more. Asthma and autoimmune diseases are far more common in the U.S. than in any other part of the world. Autism now affects 1 in every 36 kids. Our only solution to these issues seems to be more and more pharmaceutical interventions that don't seem to be alleviating the problem, and in many cases appear to be worsening it.
Kennedy referencing studies showing 90% of healthcare spending goes toward treating chronic illness in this country. He says despite paying 2 to 3 times as much for healthcare, Americans are among the world's sickest people. Kennedy says the mission of this department now will be reversing the chronic disease epidemic. The reason for much of the controversy about Kennedy is his history as someone who is unafraid to question the safety of some vaccines. Kennedy's a longtime critic of corporate influence on pharmaceutical companies, too, especially when it comes to research and development. The former FDA administrator, Robert Califf, he estimates approximately 70% of clinical trials are self-funded by the very drug companies seeking approval. RFK committed to the employees of his new agency that their mission will be restoring full transparency and respect of the science without preconceived notions.
Nothing is going to be off limits. Whatever belief or suspicion I have expressed in the past, I'm willing to subject them all to the scrutiny of unbiased science. That is going to be our template.
Actor Zachary Levi articulated the feelings of many Americans on the Megyn Kelly Show yesterday.
But I think that these are things that have been long overdue. And we deserve it. Everyone deserves this kind of transparency. Like, light is the best disinfectant. Like, just get in there. Just look at it all. Yep. Let's have a real coming to Jesus moment. And we need to do that with all things. We need to bring the American public in on a lot of these things that have been secretive. And no, we can't tell them, like, rip the Band-Aid off.
Presidents Trump and Zelensky in a war of words as the U.S. lays the groundwork for peace negotiations in Ukraine. Their leader, Volodymyr Zelensky, voicing increasing criticism of the Trump administration.
And there are a lot of different voices around new American administration, and I'm not sure that all these voices on our side. Now we can't rule out the possibility that America might say no to Europe on issues that threaten it. It's up to them, but they can discuss everything they want, but not about Ukraine without us.
All of those sound bites took place within the last week. At a Tuesday press conference at Mar-a-Lago, Mr. Trump returned some of the criticism.
Today I heard, we weren't invited. Well, you've been there for 3 years. You should have ended it 3 years. You should have never started it. You could have made a deal. I could have made a deal for Ukraine that would have given them almost all of the land, everything, almost all of the land, and no people would have been killed and no city would have been demolished.
Democrats have interpreted that comment as President Trump accusing the Ukrainians of starting the war. This is Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer.
President Trump amazingly blamed Ukraine for Putin's invasion. And it's disgusting to see an American president turn against one of our friends and openly side with a thug like Vladimir Putin. The people of Ukraine did not start this war. Vladimir Putin did.
That sentiment repeated across the cable networks. Mr. Zelensky called a press conference yesterday in Ukraine saying he would like to, quote, have more truth with the Trump team because this does not have a positive impact on Ukraine. In those same remarks, he asserted the belief that the U.S. is helping President Putin, quote, come out of years of isolation. And yet President Trump's remarks are very much in line with the many previous times he has said this war was not inevitable. Mr. Trump acknowledges the Russians' claims that NATO expansion poses a legitimate threat to their national security, but he also believes in Ukrainian sovereignty. In the months leading up to the invasion, there were multiple failed diplomatic efforts by the Biden administration to dial back the crisis. Mr. Trump lays much of the blame on Joe Biden for strategic blunders along the way. National Security Advisor Mike Walls remains adamant that both sides, of course, will have a say in the final outcome. This from an appearance yesterday on Fox News.
At the era of an endless grinding war, with death and destruction on all sides, costing hundreds of billions and costing hundreds of thousands, if not millions of lives, that era is over. President Trump has been very clear he intends to bring this war to an end, that all sides need to be bought into that.
Ukrainian elections were suspended earlier this year. The country has been under martial law since the beginning of the invasion. The White House's rapid response account posting to X yesterday, quote, in America, we hold a presidential election every 4 years. even during wartime. Before President Zelensky decides to lecture the American president again, he should hold an election too, end quote. The president clearly warning Zelensky, you're on thin ice. President Trump and Elon Musk announced the 2 astronauts aboard the International Space Station will be brought home in a matter of weeks. Originally scheduled for just an 8-day mission, astronauts Butch Wilmore and Suni Williams have been in space since June. Technical issues with their Boeing Starliner led to an indefinite extension of the trip. Don't you hate it when your flight gets canceled? Elon Musk placing blame for the long delay on the Biden administration.
At the president's request or instruction, we are accelerating the return of the astronauts, which was postponed kind of to a ridiculous degree.
They got left in space.
They've been there. They were supposed to be there 8 days. They're there almost 300.
Biden.
Yes, they were left up there for political reasons, which is not good.
The astronauts themselves dispute that characterization. Here they were earlier this week with CNN's Anderson Cooper.
Do you feel you've been abandoned?
We don't feel abandoned. We don't feel stuck. We don't feel stranded. I understand why others may think that. We come prepared. We come committed. That is what your human spaceflight program is. It prepares for any and all contingencies that we can conceive of, and we prepare for those. So if you'll help us change the rhetoric, help us change the narrative, let's change it to prepared and committed.
The projected launch date for their return, March 12th. The latest on the It Ends With Us drama, which seems never ending. Blake Lively amends her complaint against co-star and director Justin Baldoni. In the 163-page document, Lively now alleges that multiple women felt uncomfortable on the set as a result of Baldoni's on-set behavior. She contends her claims are corroborated by other witnesses, but the actress is not naming them, allegedly to protect innocent bystanders rather than exposing them to further harm. She claims the witnesses will testify and cooperate with the discovery process. Mr. Baldoni's lawyer, Brian Friedman, who happens to be my own lawyer, dismisses the complaint, saying it lacks evidence. Mr. Friedman responding that this complaint is filled with hearsay by unnamed persons, quote, who are clearly no longer willing to come forward or publicly support her claims. Since documents do not lie and people do, the upcoming depositions of those who initially supported Ms. Lively's false claims and those who are witnesses to her own behavior will be enlightening. Mr. Baldoni is countersuing Blake Lively for $400 million in damages. The trial is scheduled for March 2026. And that'll do it for your AM update. Thanks for listening, everyone. I'm Megyn Kelly. Join me back here later for the Megyn Kelly Show. We are live on SiriusXM Triumph Channel 111 at noon East and on youtube.com/Megyn Kelly and all podcast platforms. Can you outline what Balenciaga, this very high-end fashion brand, did? What did they do that got people so upset?
Oh my gosh. I saw this before Thanksgiving. By the way, thank you so much, Megyn, for having me on. I saw this posted on Instagram before Thanksgiving, and I thought this had to have been a mistake. I mean, the fact that Balenciaga, this huge fashion brand, and I used to model, so I remember photo shoots and things like that. Nothing like this would get past a huge company like Balenciaga, and for them to say, oh, we didn't know about it. No, they knew exactly what it was. It's pedophilia. It's grooming of our children. And I want to know, where is the outrage by the left? All the people who posted the black square during Black Lives Matter and the George Floyd protests, they were quick to post and denounce the, Black Lives Matter, all that. But now all of a sudden celebrities and elitists are completely silent on this. So I am calling to cancel Balenciaga. We want to see them completely wiped out. What they did was disgusting, despicable, and every person, man, woman, parent, everyone should be outraged about this.
So they have posted these ads. They posted them, and now they've been forced to take them down. But the first, as I can see it, is a little girl with red hair standing there holding a teddy bear, described as follows by I'm reading off of, I think it's somebody's Substack. I'm trying to find the name of the person, but she did a good write-up of it. Apologies to her for not having the name. This is how it's described. A young girl holding a toy, wearing fishnets, restraints, and a padlock with bruised purple and blue eyes. Then there's a picture of a girl on a sofa surrounded by empty wine glasses. Mm-hmm. That's a separate one. There's this one, as if the girl's been partying all night. These girls, they look about four or five. You know, you have children.
And
I have children, including a daughter.
You can see that there's a leash. Why is there a dog leash? Why is there a fork, a knife, and a spoon? Why is there, like you said, alcohol? This is absolutely, we can all agree, even prisoners agree that child predators and pedophiles are the lowest of the low, but yet we are completely silent about this. And I'm really proud of my conservative community. They are outraged.
Yes,
about
because well, and I'll get to what you've been doing, and good on you because it's working. But the thing is, what they're doing is they're sexualizing little children, and in the context of BDSM, of, what exactly does that stand for? Bondage, domination, sexual, whatever. But it's basically rough, dominatrix, submissive type sex relations, which are inappropriate for children to be featured in any way, shape, or form. And really young children. I mean, honestly, these girls look about 4 years old to me. It's absolutely disgusting. The parents, I have to say, are part of the problem, because one was quoted in the Daily Mail as saying, "Oh, they flew us to Paris. We were there the entire day. These have been taken out of context." Really? Somebody puts a bondage teddy bear in my 4-year-old's picture while she's around empty cocktail glasses and grown-ups in a sexualized set, and we are running for the hills out of that photo shoot.
And how about the court case? I don't know if you saw the court case that was photographed.
Yes. A separate ad campaign. Tell them about that.
So they had a court case. I don't remember exactly the case, but basically it had said that kiddie porn is okay. So what they were saying is they were so arrogant in this photo shoot. They were saying what we're doing, there it is right there. What we're doing is completely okay by slamming that court case on the bottom of there it is right there. Mm-hmm. So they're covering their ass by saying, hey, it's legal. What we're doing is legal. Mm-hmm. That's how arrogant these people are. I want to see them canceled. I want to see them completely eliminated from the public square.
There's a long line of Supreme Court jurisprudence on the subject of child sexual abuse photos. And that's what these are. That's really what these are. It's child pornography. That doesn't cover it. That almost sounds, I don't know, like it doesn't sound bad enough. This is child sexual abuse photos. That's what child pornography is. And this is adjacent at a minimum to that. This will titillate pedophiles who get off on thinking about children in a sexualized way. These photos will hurt children. They will potentially lead to the titillation of the worst amongst us. And there's zero reason for this. There's plenty of adult women who would be happy to be featured in a Balenciaga campaign, including the BDSM imagery. You don't put a 4-year-old in front of a camera like this. So there's a reason why it's been outlawed, explicit photos of children. And what happened in Supreme Court jurisprudence was originally the Supreme Court said you can't outlaw even discussions about child sexual abuse photos. There's certain things that the law cannot ban because of the First Amendment. And then Congress tried to pass a law saying, okay, we guess we failed to do it, but now we're going to try to do it properly. And that went back up to the Supreme Court. So there's been a long line of legal fighting over how far can these pedophiles go in their discussions. And one of these cases gets featured by Balenciaga in its ad campaign on the heels of the little girls with the BDSM stuff.
You can't even make this up. I mean, when I was on your show a couple of weeks ago, what were we talking about? We were talking about, the drag shows going on in our kids' schools. Why are we not surprised? Why are we not surprised that now we're hearing, minor attracted persons, that's okay? No, it's not okay. Okay, this is what it leads to. When people don't stand up and fight back against this, we are seeing now the most despicable act, sexualizing our kids is now okay. What crazy world, sick, demonic world are we living in?
They also, several photographs in their campaign include a copy of this book, Fire from the Sun, which is a collection of portraits of naked toddlers with sinister overtones, and some of the children look castrated in the photo. I mean, it's deeply disturbing. And so this is not an accident. This is a pattern by Balenciaga. It is a pattern, undeniable pattern. And now they want to say, oh, okay, we're horrified. Now, this was very wrong, and we're going to launch an investigation. We're going to scrub our social media. And you and I both know this doesn't get passed, because initially they're pointing at the set designer on that one photograph that featured the handbag over the child pornography decision. Right. They're suing now. Balenciaga's suing the set designer on that shoot. They're not suing the ones who did the little girls. No, because that's an admission by them. They were fully aware of that one. They're claiming, oh, well, we didn't realize those court documents were behind that bag. Yeah, right. But the point is, Balenciaga is up to its neck. This doesn't happen without the blessing of the top bosses. You've been in the modeling industry. Executives from Balenciaga would have poured over each and every shot. So this is not good enough. Oh, we're going to look into it. We're going to lift the pictures. It's not good enough for them. It's not good enough for Kim Kardashian, who refuses to disassociate with the brand. Even though she's a billionaire, she's a disgusting, shameful billionaire, because the money is worth more than her morals and the protection of these children to her.
Yep. You're exactly right. And why did it take Kim Kardashian 6 days to come out with a statement?
Right.
It wasn't until Candace Owens slammed her 3 times for her to come out with some lame statement. And you know what, Candace Owens, you are right. Kim Kardashian is a total sellout. She's soulless. All she cares about is her money, exploiting her kids. And you know what? She's an absolute disgrace. And so her lame apology, no, you're not sorry, Kim. You're not sorry. You're sorry that you got caught. And now you want to continue I'm going to reevaluate. No, you're not going to reevaluate. You're going to reevaluate how much money you're going to lose. Okay. You hope that this would go away. Thanksgiving would come and go. No, it's not going away. We're doubling down. Conservatives are doubling down.
And can I tell you, it's not even, I don't believe it is the money for her. It's her vanity. It's her need to see herself in the Balenciaga dresses, looking high fashion, because she's jealous of the one sister who really is a high fashion model. And she's been a wannabe on this front for the past couple of years, running around. Here she is featured in Balenciaga wear at the Met Gala a couple of years ago. This too is a misogynistic outfit with her face entirely covered, because there's somebody sick at Balenciaga working on the set design and the imagery and the fashion choices. Because covering a woman like this is disturbing and dark. And Kim shouldn't have done it, and Balenciaga shouldn't have done it. But I think she can't let go of her own imagery as this high fashion model. Mm-hmm. It's her vanity that's making her slow to say goodbye. It's not the money. Well, like a lot of people these days, I am trying to eat healthier. And that is one of the reasons why I love good olive oil. And by good, I mean fresh. Olive oil packs the most flavor and the healthiest nutrients when it's fresh from the farm. And that is the problem with supermarket olive oils. They're not fresh. They can sit on the shelf for many months growing stale. That's why I like my olive oil direct from small, award-winning farms, thanks to a guy named TJ Robinson, also known as the olive oil hunter. When I first tasted TJ's farm fresh oils, I fell in love with their vibrant flavors. They are delicious on salad, veggies, pasta, meat, fish, you name it. And as an introduction to his fresh pressed olive oil club, TJ's willing to send you a full-size $39 bottle of one of the world's finest artisanal olive oils for just $1 to help him cover shipping. Best of all, there's never a commitment to buy anything, and you can cancel your membership at any time. Get your free $39 bottle for just $1 shipping and taste the difference freshness makes. It really does. Go to harvestfreshnow.com. That's harvestfreshnow.com for a free bottle and pay just $1 in shipping. harvestfreshnow.com. Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes. I did care about this little ditty here, Maureen, where he decided to give us a little insight into his relationship with Michelle. Here it is, SOT 29.
Since I left office, I have spent over 8 years now trying to dig myself out of a hole with Michelle. And And that's been challenging, but I feel like I'm making progress. I'm almost breaking even at the moment.
Oh my God. It's perfect.
He's telling the truth.
Yeah, it's the other side of the first side we always cover, which is her and how miserable she is.
Again, like, I know we've talked about this at length and it feels like a real puzzle for the ages, but why is he still whipping himself? Like, why is he still wearing the hair shirt? Why is he still suffering?
I don't know. I don't know the hair shirt. I don't know. It's time. They can easily say it didn't work out. We're going to part ways, and he's going to go with Jennifer Aniston or whomever. Reggie Love, whomever. right. But no judgment.
No, live your life. But no, it's so strange. And then seeing the photos of them, they're in this very consequential time in American history. They've decided what better time as what they perceive themselves to be as leaders of the Democratic Party to go yachting with Steven Spielberg.
Yeah.
And she alights first wearing, if we could just talk fashion for a moment, I don't understand what this woman is doing. She's wearing denim on denim on denim, looks like a denim scarf wrapped around the hair and she just looks, but she arrived 5 hours before Barack arrived on the yacht.
What?
Yeah, they didn't even arrive together.
That's not a thing. Nobody wants to do that. You always want to go on with your partner.
But she does. But they don't. She doesn't. And Barack brought his laptop, and there are photos of him on Spielberg's yacht, having a fine time with his laptop.
Oh,
alone at a table.
That's probably how he's happiest.
I would bet he is.
To be honest,
I would bet he is.
It's actually I feel kind of sorry for him, because all she does is rip on him, and it's to the point where. It's like if this had been a passing comment by her or by him once or twice, we wouldn't make anything out of it. But it's all she says about her marriage. The passing comment by Michelle will be the occasional need to try to rehabilitate things where she comes out like, I love my man and we've worked things out and now things are good. Well, she never says that much positive.
Right.
But she'll throw out one compliment in the midst of 30 disses. And what does he say as soon as he gets in front of it? He can't even look up. He's looking down, I'm just starting to make some headway and getting out of the enormous hole that I'm in with Michelle.
Bill Clinton did a lot worse to his wife on the world stage, and he doesn't talk like that.
It's true.
He seems like he's a happy guy.
Well, I think that comes from women other than Hillary.
Well, of course, but what I'm saying, he's not he hasn't spent his life, even when he got caught, really. It was sort of he did the sort of things that you do, but you could tell he was just I'm getting away with it.
Yeah, totally.
Whatever.
Totally. Did you know gold is up around 40% this year? 40. That's not speculation. That is reality. And if a portion of your savings is not diversified into gold, you could be missing the boat. Here are the facts. Inflation is still high. The US dollar is still weak, and government debt is still growing. This is why central banks are flocking to gold. They're the ones driving prices up to record highs, but it's not too late for you to buy gold. You're not too late to get in on this. From Birch Gold Group, and to get in the door now. Birch Gold will help you convert an existing IRA or 401k into a tax-sheltered IRA in gold. You can do it in whole or in part. You don't pay one dime out of pocket. Just text MK to 989898 and claim your free info kit. There's no obligation, just useful information. The best indicator of the future is the past, and gold has historically been a safe haven for decades. So text MK to 989898 right now to claim your free info kit on gold. That's MK to 989898. Protect your future today with Birch Gold. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes. I want to talk about what's happening with Barry Weiss at CBS because it's ridiculous. So Barry Weiss sent out one of those Doge kind of emails to the staff at CBS saying, let me know what you do all day. What projects are you currently working on? It wasn't quite as aggressive as the Elon one, but it was I'm new, I'm the editor-in-chief. Can you send me an email letting me know what projects you're working on and what you're up to? Well, they went into meltdown over at CBS. It was all these meetings had to be called. The union got involved. And now there's been an official, the union responded to Barry. Exactly. Why do you want this? For what purpose? What will be done with the answers? Will people be subjected to discipline or some sort of suspension or punishment if you don't like their answers? So finally the union has assessed the situation, and now CBS had to respond to the union that, okay, you will not be disciplined if you don't respond, that you will not be, this will not be the basis for discipline, discharge, or layoff. And of course, there's also, you don't need to respond at all. You don't have to respond. There's no penalty whatsoever for entirely blowing her off. To me, this is funny because I love Barry, but it's not going to go well. These organizations cannot be changed from the top down. They can only be changed from the bottom up. And they will never, ever, 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 ever accept somebody who didn't grow up next to them in the CBS ranks. Ever. You have, and I mean, like, you can't even go laterally. Like Catherine Herridge went there from Fox News, who was a very respected reporter on the Intel beat. I mean, completely had her chops. And she was a legit reporter. She could never be dismissed as like some Fox whatever. No. They didn't accept her. They will never accept. And that's a reporter, never mind an editor-in-chief who gets helicoptered in. And so this is just, to me, the first sign of trouble. There will be many. It will probably, in my estimation, last a couple of years before Barry says, F this toxic environment. I'm peacing out of here. But this is sort of chapter one. Your thoughts on it?
Okay, I actually have strong thoughts on this. So let me just say that the email asking, what are you working on? I don't find that particularly offensive. In fact, I'm not represented by a union, but when TYT had hired a president for the first time, this is back in 2016 or 2017, she called everyone into her office because she wanted to get to know them and wanted to get to know what their role is within the company, what they're working on. And I didn't find that threatening in any way. I think the reason why the workers at CBS found it threatening is because of all of the reporting that came out prior to Barry Weiss being brought in. And the Financial Times in particular had noted that David Ellison, after this merger with Paramount Sundance, with CBS and all of that, had said that he was considering purchasing the Free Press for a lot of money, by the way. It ended up being $150 million. Originally, there were rumors that it was going to be as much as $250 million. But the Financial Times
for a company that was
that
was bringing in $15 million a year. So I mean, the financials were largely inflated.
Yes. So I want to get back to that in just a minute. But in regard to David Ellison, the Financial Times reported that he liked that the Free Press had a pro-Israel bias. And so you have the reporters and some of the workers over at CBS worried that she's going to be brought on specifically to sway the reporting in a way that's more favorable to Israel and not necessarily fair or accurate. So when the entire situation starts from that place, it's really hard to recover from that. You get what I'm saying? Because they're worried that their reputation as reporters, their reputation as a news organization is going to tank as a result of that. But on top of that, look, I also think David Ellison wanted to bring her on because in his mind, this is a way to marry digital independent media to legacy media, which is dying. Yep. Let's keep it real.
Yep. Correct.
But I'm going to say from my personal experience, you can't make that transition. It doesn't transition well because people who have sworn off corporate legacy media are never going back. They just don't trust it. They don't trust these institutions.
No, I totally agree with you. That's the problem. Like, I get what he's trying to do. It's just not possible. You can't, the other patient has expired. And you cannot take the working brain and working heart of a still alive person and put them in this corpse. That's not going to bring them back. They've expired. They've been expired for too long. The window of reviving them has passed. And as talented as Barry is, she's not that talented. No one is. No one can do it. But I also think that I know, trust me, I know, because I've been in television for a long time. I guarantee you, are over there saying, she's never even worked in TV. Their noses will be turned up as high as humanly possible at the fact that this print reporter, and they don't even see Barry as a reporter, like opinion person from the New York Times, has the nerve to come over here and try to tell us about editorial at the vaunted CBS News, and she's never even done TV. I guarantee you. Those are the comments that are happening behind the scenes. And as nice as Barry is and as reasonable and as talented, they're just not open-minded to it. They're jealous she has it and they don't. And they resent the fact that she got put in this position without having to pay her dues the way they did.
I just think they're two completely different forms of media, right? Like, I know that both, whether you're talking about the Free Press or CBS, they're in the news business to some capacity, but the format on television is not conducive to informing people, to be quite honest with you.
You're so right.
I go on. Yeah, I mean, like long form conversations like this, when I think about my own media consumption, and I really like to listen to podcasts or various voices from across the political spectrum, I want long form. I don't want to go to a commercial break every 5 minutes. I want to hear what different voices have to say about any particular issue, and I want them to speak at length. You're not going to get that on CBS or ABC, on network news, on cable news. It's just not conducive to a real conversation.
Buy gold and get free silver. That's right. For every $5,000 purchased from Birch Gold Group this month in advance of Veterans Day, they're going to send you a free patriotic silver round that commemorates the Gadsden and American flags. Look, gold is up over 40% since the beginning of this year, and Birch Gold can help you own it by converting an existing IRA or 401k into a tax-sheltered IRA in physical gold. Plus, they will send you free silver honoring our veterans on qualifying purchases. And if you are current or former military, Birch Gold has a special offer just for you. They are waiving custodial fees for the first year on investments of any amount. With an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau and tens of thousands of happy customers, consider diversifying your savings into gold. Just text MK to the number 989898 for a free info kit and to claim your eligibility for free silver with qualifying purchase before the end of the month. Okay, before the end of the month. Again, text MK to the number 989898. Message and data rates may apply. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes. If there's one person who you disagree with vehemently on Israel, I think it's fair to say it's Barry Weiss. And you're a friend of mine, and she's a friend of mine, but I think this is an interesting thing that's just happened. She's been reportedly, Dylan Byers of Puck News is a scoop, this is his scoop, reportedly been offered between $100 and $200 million for the Free Press. This is how Puck is reporting it. David Ellison, the son of Larry Ellison, they just bought Paramount and CBS. David, the son, is only like 41. He made an offer for the Free Press. It's expected to be well above the site's most recent $100 million valuation, but well below the $200 million figure that was recently floated in the Financial Times. That was an absurd ask, writes Dylan Byers. The Free Press does $15 million in annual subscription revenue, and Barry's politically charged content makes it hard to scale the advertising business. Plus, there's no tech stack. It's all on Substack. Either way, it will land Weiss a king's ransom just a little over 5 years after her dramatic departure from the New York Times. The deal's not done yet, of course, but as a source with knowledge of the negotiations told me this afternoon, it's on the 1 yard line. As part of the deal, he reports, I'm told, that David Ellison plans to give Barry Weiss a role at CBS News that would, among other things, task his fellow millennial with guiding the editorial direction of the division, the news division. Barry's avowedly pro-Israel and anti-woke worldview. You disagree with her on that first one, but agree with her on the second one. You're not a woke person. Not to mention her broadly shit-kicking anti-establishment disposition would inevitably inspire blowback from various corners of the newsroom and could dramatically change the editorial posture and reputation of one of the most storied and certainly self-important institutions in American journalism. For David, that's likely part of the point. Your thoughts on all of this, Glenn?
There's a lot going on here. I mean, I definitely do have extremely vehement disagreements with Barry on Israel, to put that mildly, but I also have had interactions with Barry personally, and I say what everyone who I've ever known has known her says, that she's a very, like, charming, nice person. Like, it's very hard to dislike Barry personally. So for me, at least, it's
very
not
bright
about
too.
that.
Extremely bright.
And I actually wrote one of the very first articles when she was hired from the New York Times by the Wall Street Journal, because all the liberals were enraged that Brett Stevens was being put on the op-ed page. And I was like, Brett Stevens, he's just like a normal run-of-the-mill conservative neocons. But Barry is an extremely shrewd person. She understands how the discourse works. And I guarantee you she'll be the more consequential hire there, which I do think Barry is extremely shrewd. And she has built the Free Press into something successful. The issue for me is, and I'm also a huge, proponent of like new media and clearing out the old corporate media generation. I mean, that's what my career has been based on, is I grew out of new media and blogs and all of that. So I'm always happy to see that. I think the issue here, though, is that you cannot ignore the politics here. So the previous owner of Paramount and CBS was Sherry Redstone, the widow of Sumner Redstone. And Sherry Redstone said after October 7th, her only interest became defending Israel. She didn't care about journalism anymore. She lost interest in Paramount and CBS, and that's why she decided to sell it. She's selling it to Larry Ellison's son, which basically is what he is. I mean, that's his primary accomplishment. Larry Ellison is the founder of Oracle, extremely successful, one of the 10 richest people on the planet. So he has, billions of dollars to play with, his son does. And he's buying Paramount and CBS News. And the issue far and away that has been at the top of the agenda for the Ellisons, Larry Ellison and David Ellison, when it comes to politics or philanthropy, is Israel. And there has been controversy since October 7th about some of the stories 60 Minutes ran, supposedly too sympathetic to Gaza, too critical of Israel. And now he wants to take Bari Weiss, who, again, I have respect for her accomplishments and success, but is what she has built anywhere near worth $100 million? Go look at how many people listen to her podcast or how many people watch her videos on YouTube. It is a tiny footprint. And to place her at the top of some kind of like editorial or ideological enforcement role at CBS when she so aligns with David Ellison on the issue that's of greatest importance to both of them is something that concerns me, because I really believe in a media that is kind of divorced from clear-cut agendas where the reporting is shaped by that. I have no jealousy of Bari. I've done very well in journalism. I'm thrilled for her that she has. I really like her wife, Nellie, as well. I like both of them. But I do think there are things to question in this deal in terms of exactly why it's happening and exactly what it will entail in terms of Bari's influence over CBS News in particular.
That's very interesting. My own feeling on it when I saw was it's like Bari's doing well with the Free Press. She's got a lot of investors who she's, doing a good job for, and they'll probably take a hefty amount of that money. But to me, this feels like somebody comes up to you and says, I've got this beautiful ship I'd love for you to captain. It's absolutely gorgeous. You might even call it unsinkable. It's going to set sail on the Atlantic. We're going to head north into the Arctic area. There may be a couple of icebergs. I'm sure you'll be fine. Here's the wheel. Like, why would you go into mainstream media right now? Like, it's dead. It's dying. It absolutely is on track for the iceberg. I just don't understand the allure. And I really don't understand the allure to go to a television network, which is not Bari's background at all. And it's for me, and I really love Bari and Nellie too, I worried they're going to eat her alive because CBS is among the worst when it comes to being insular. Like, you have to be raised at CBS to be respected by the CBS people. Ask Katie Couric if you don't believe me. Ask Catherine Herridge if you don't believe me. Whatever you think of Katie Couric, within that circle, she would certainly be considered one of the most storied, established journalists of modern times. And they hated her guts because she didn't rise up within CBS and she didn't come from the evening news and all that crap. There's no way they're going to respect somebody who did a stint at the Journal and the Times and then went off into independent media as a television editorial boss. And I'm sorry, but they're also not going to respect somebody who's young and a woman because CBS is not built that way. Again, ask Katie Couric, ask Catherine Herridge. I've watched it happen time after time. So I just don't get the allure. Like, are we on an independent media train where we're like creating and building something new that matters and is really going to replace these dinosaurs? Or are we going back into the dinosaurs to try to somehow put the paddles on them and continue to ask for a charge when the patient has long since expired.
Yeah, it's such a good point. I'll just give you this quick anecdote. I founded The Intercept in 2013, and we did so with Pierre Omidyar, the multi-billionaire founder of eBay. And at the time, he was strongly considering buying the Washington Post for the same amount he invested in the media company that we created, which was $250 million. And ultimately, Jeff Bezos bought it instead. And I remember him telling me he wanted to buy the Washington Post to change it, but realized that with an institution that kind of long-standing, that kind of ossified, even if you buy it and you're the owner, it's extremely difficult to change it. He decided it would be just better to start something from scratch that he felt he could put his imprint on. And I do think, while I do, I did express the concern that Barry's going to go there and exert a lot of influence, I think more likely is what you said, which is kind of like the rotted roots of CBS, even with new ownership, probably telling her she'll be protected or whatever, is more likely to consume her and change her and the free press than it is the other way around. And also, I think you're so right. This is a dying medium, not just cable, but network news. Like, I've never heard anyone under 40 being like, hey, did you catch 60 Minutes, the other night? No. That's not where they get their news from. And Barry has created something, whether I like it or not, that is extremely influential because of its independence. And I have seen people go in the reverse way, like you and Tucker, for example, were freed when you finally got out of working for a major corporation. Even if you, and I had that same experience, like even if you don't realize the constraints that are there, they're still there, just going to work there every day. Why would you want to sacrifice the incredible freedom and liberty that you have of being your own boss and having this great influence to go basically become an employee of a stodgy old corporation that seems to be more dying than it is rejuvenating? Maybe it's just the allure of a brand name job, but I don't really see Barry as the kind of person who, I wouldn't do it.
I think she's going to hate it. They're going to be nasty bitches to her. And I use that term in a non-gendered way. I think they're going to be terrible to her. I think she's doing something really exciting right now, and she is succeeding. And fine, the exit plan, if she wants to sell the free press, I have no judgment on that. I'm sure she could build something else awesome from scratch. And she's got a lot of investors who love her because Barry's liberal. I mean, she's more of a, old school liberal, and she's not woke. So she's safe, because a lot of these leftist investors, they love that kind of, they're not woke either. They can't say it publicly. They love the things that she writes that are non-woke, but they still don't like Trump. So Barry's a great investment for them. And they probably would get behind any new publication or project that she would put out there. But this just is not it. Honestly, Glenn, I can tell you truly, if Fox News came to me tomorrow and said, would you come in and head up editorial, or any other organization, come in and help us, maybe like an ABC or a CBS, and like help us right the ship, I would say, no, thank you. No, thank you. I've already gone into these networks and seen the hatred they have for people who are genuinely not of the left. And for outsiders, which Barry 100% will be considered, notwithstanding her liberal bona fides card. And they're miserable places to be. CBS is notorious for how unhappy everyone is. So I just think, why? It's so wonderful to be independent and not to have these corporate bosses. You and I are in this great place where if somebody loves our product, maybe we'll license our product to them. That's fine. They don't own us. It's like, whatever. But there's no way they own us. You wouldn't give your editorial freedom up. I wouldn't give my editorial freedom up. And you go and join one of these organizations, and they're the ones who control you, not the other way around.
Right. Even if you're being promised, which I'm sure Larry Ellison's son is promising her, no, you're going to go there, you're going to have total absolute freedom. The nature of a corporation is not consistent with that kind of freedom. You have too many factions, too many power centers to please. There's no way that you can go there with all the people around you from the top and the bottom insisting that you act a certain way, that you stay within certain lanes.
Look what happened to Chris Licht at CNN.
Exactly. I mean, he just tried to modify it a little bit. Hey, let's not be the spokesperson and the arm of the DNC. Let's get back to what made CNN successful. And he was gone in an instant because there was a huge internal uproar over it. And she was driven out of the New York Times because of that. This very catty high school behavior of sniping at her on Slack. And, that's what she left. And she, again, for better or worse, I would say for worse, but for better or worse, she created something genuinely influential that she runs, that's her creation, Why go give that up and work? And I could see if CBS were still this like major powerhouse, but we're like the 1950s and we were, in the area of 3 networks. Oh, you get to run one network? Great. That isn't power anymore. That's almost obscurity.
That's how I feel. I hope she doesn't do it. I want her to get her payout, so I'm kind of torn because I think she deserves all the riches, and I hope she spends them well and enjoys her life fully with Nellie, and now their children. But I just think this is the wrong move. She's not the right person for this job. I can see why they want her. I can see why they need her. I don't see what she gets out of it other than, the paycheck, which, okay, I'm not going to shake a stick at that because it is nice to have money. And I'm sure Barry would love to have that cushion on her bank account. So anyway, all the best to her. Words of caution sounded, and now we'll see how it shakes out. When inflation jumps, when you hear the national debt is over $37 trillion, do you ever think maybe now would be a good time to buy some gold? Well, you'd be right. Whether as a hedge against inflation, peace of mind during global instability, or just for sensible diversification, Birch Gold Group believes every American should own physical gold. And so they created something special. Until September 30th, if you're a first-time gold buyer, Birch Gold is offering a rebate of up to $10,000 in free metals on qualifying purchases. To claim eligibility and start the process, request an info kit right now. Just text MK to 989898. Plus, Birch Gold can help you roll an existing IRA or 401k into an IRA in gold, and you're still eligible for a rebate in free metals of up to $10,000. So make right now your first time to buy gold and take advantage of a rebate up to $10,000 when you buy before September 30th. Text MK to the number 989898 to claim your eligibility and get your free info kit. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes. When I saw people on the internet praising her last night, even some Republicans, like, oh, that was a great speech. I thought, have you never actually seen an effective female public speaker? Like, they mistake energy or like enthusiasm for effectiveness. I mean, anyone can get up there and shout at you. She can shout at you. It doesn't make you a good public speaker. It was like an assault. It was, right? Don't you feel assaulted by what I just did? That's how I felt listening to her. So I have a whole theory on her, and I'm going to walk you through my theory. And now I want your take. Now,
okay.
So I'm going to start with what I think she was going for. AOC, this is what she was going for. Smug just made a reference to it, and it has to do with then regular Barack Obama before he ran for president in 2004 at the DNC. This is what made him a star, this moment.
I say to them tonight, there is not a liberal America and a conservative America. There is the United States of America. There is not a black America and a white America and Latino America and Asian America. There's the United States of America. The pundits like to slice and dice our country into red states and blue states. Red states for Republicans, blue states for Democrats. But I've got news for them too. We worship an awesome God in the blue states. And we don't like federal agents poking around in our libraries in the red states.
Okay, he would be canceled for saying that today.
Yeah, you'd get booed off the stage if he said that.
The convention, their convention today has these diversified groups meeting all day. The LGBTQ caucus and the Black caucus and the Hispanic caucus and there's not a white caucus. But anyway, okay, so that's Barack Obama, who's then an Illinois state senator in 2004, made himself a star. That's what AOC was going for. That's what they all go for. They fail. There's only one Barack Obama. There will never be another Barack Obama. I'm sorry, find your own style. You're not good at imitation. Here was AOC's attempt, and pay particular attention to the fake accent that comes in toward the end.
In Kamala Harris, we have a chance to elect a president who is for the middle class because she is from the middle class. And I, for one, am tired of hearing about how a two-bit union buster thinks of himself as more of a patriot than the woman who fights every single day to lift working people out from under the boots of greed, trampling on our way of life. Ever since I got elected, Republicans have attacked me by saying that I should go back to bartending. But let me tell you, I'm happy happy to any day of the week because there is nothing wrong with working for a living.
Cool. Get me a skinny margarita. That's what she was going for. She was going for Barack Obama. But this is what she reminded me of. I mean, entirely. I give you Hilaria Baldwin.
I want you guys to realize that we have 7 kids.
Oh, no.
And you being here to escort them to school and to be there when they come home is not good. So on a human
This woman's
level,
not Spanish.
you guys know I'm not going to say anything to you. You know that. So please, leave my family in peace and let this all play out. Okay? So let my kids come home and you stay away from them. Because they asked me, Mommy, what are these people doing?
Wait.
And it's a very hard thing
She's
to
not
try to
Spanish
explain.
speaking.
So please, go home. Because I'm not going to say anything and Alec is not going to say anything.
She's like, por favor.
How you say cucumber. And there was this is my final soundbite in this little riff. So she was a cross between Hilaria, who went to a fancy boarding school in either Boston or Rhode Island and isn't Spanish at all. And also this guy. You may remember him from World War II as the leader of Italy.
Oh my God.
Megyn
What do you
is
think?
just breaking out the 50
Yeah,
cal.
this is hot fire today.
Wow.
Agree or disagree?
Well, I'm conflicted
I agree.
about AOC. I agree. I agree with what you were saying, but I'm conflicted about sort of who she is and how. I don't think there's anybody who better captures the ethos of today's Democratic Party than AOC. I mean, we may think it's absolutely ridiculous, but that is entirely consistent with everything that you see from the very top to the very bottom, from the center left to the progressive left. I mean, everything is captured by who AOC is. And I think this convention is actually a part of that, right? There's no real attempt to explain to the center of the electorate why it is that everything has sucked so bad under Joe Biden. It's basically inventing a new reality, throwing some yelling at you, telling you you're going to fight for stuff, and then just kind of expecting people to get in line behind somebody who's never gotten a single primary vote. Right?
There's no incentive for them to correct, because if you followed Twitter last night, the media was just glomming all over her. They were saying how great she was, and this is the best speech ever. So why would they ever course correct? Because the feedback loop they get is just nothing but positive.
Well, and she was sort of alluding to this dignity of work, which I think is central to the American ethos, isn't really a Democrat thing or a Republican thing. But instead of doing that thing and that thing alone, which everybody agrees with, she's like, working under the boot of greed. And it's like, well, when did this become a class struggle? This is a struggle session now because you work hard?
And that's the thing. So I picked up on that. And I also agree with what Holmes said of how emblematic that AOC is of the party, because she's a fraud, right?
Yeah.
This is someone who grew up in one of the most expensive parts of New York, right? Saying that, oh, we're going to fight back against the boot of greed, because she's just paying lip service to that stupid socialist foot soldiers that they need out there to be a threat. That, hey, listen, if you don't vote our way, there's a reason that businesses get boarded up on election day. You know, she's completely been absorbed by the party establishment in her short time of getting elected, winning that primary. She's now been brought into, okay, you can give a convention speech, and she's mad that she gets chased down by these Gaza protesters when she's trying to watch a movie at the theater. She's like, I'm watching a movie at the theater. Can't you save your genocide talk for some other time?
Yeah.
She's no longer some kind of
Sandy
a grassroots
from
fighter.
Westchester. That's
Exactly.
AOC is Sandy from Westchester. Now she's suddenly like Latino. Speaking from the Bronx. You're so
That entire
fake.
party is a fraud. And when they talk about how they're going to help working people, they're the ones who've put the boots on the working class's neck with the way inflation has gone up over the 4 years. It's a huge fraud.
Is that like a Rosie Perez The sort of thing you're doing there.
Yeah, from White Men Can't Jump.
White Men Can't Jump.
I mean,
you sort of
like
sounded
that is
there.
what I hear her doing. I am imitating
That
her
is really
imitating
good.
a Spanish person.
Oh, yeah. That's really
So
good.
that's my Spanish imitation of her Spanish. And by the way, speaking of which, now they've been doing like the parade of celebrities there. And is it tonight that Ana Navarro is their celebrity?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
We got to the celebrity now somehow.
I'm sorry, but that's like the kind of celebrity you'd find at a Republican National Convention where they can't find any celebrities.
Bird.
I don't know. We had Megyn Kelly walking around the Republican National Committee. That's a pretty big celebrity.
So wait, you raise a very good point about the class warfare. All right. So, and they're all fakers, right? So Sandy from Westchester is now some Latino from the Bronx. And also her being like Kamala Harris, she understands the middle class because she is from the middle class. So Kamala Harris's dad was a professor at Stanford. Her mom had a PhD from Berkeley. So she may have grown up in a duplex because the mom wasn't rich and they got a divorce young, but that doesn't make her some sort of middle-class champion. She's been making hundreds of thousands of dollars on the taxpayer dime ever since she got out of school. So I hate the rewrite. Like, she's actually not some poor, pull herself up by the bootstraps. It's like, you know how many actual working class people would love to have had parents who double PhDs, a respected, PhD scientist and professor at Stanford, and she still gets to run around and say like, I'm just like you. Okay, so they're fake. As a kid, you loved eating cereal, right? But as an adult, you don't want all that sugar. And most cereals don't have the protein you want or need. But then there's Magic Spoon, a nostalgically delicious cereal that tastes just like your childhood favorites, but without the sugar and with a ton of protein. And now Magic Spoon has turned their super popular cereal into high protein treats that are light, crispy, and taste just like those classic crunchy cereal bars. Magic Spoon's brand new treats are so delicious and can serve as a before or after gym snack. Magic Spoon's treats are an easy way to get 11 grams of protein, that's good, on the go. And for the first time ever, Magic Spoon treats are available in grocery stores now with delicious flavors like marshmallow and chocolatey peanut butter. Get $5 off your next order at magicspoon.com/MK, or just look for Magic Spoon in your nearest grocery store. That's magicspoon.com/MK for $5 off. Magic Spoon. Hold on to the dream. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.